Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei Was Neglected and Becomes the God of Creation and Destruction Part 7. Before we start, please go support Ethan 1939 for writing that awesome fanfic. Now let's begin. This is the translated version I made. There will be some wrong he or she calling here because it's translated, so let me clear this. Issei is a male in this story. Part 34 Hope. Right now the underworld is in chaos. Huge beasts were attacking the cities, leaving a great trail of destruction everywhere. The military forces of demons and fallen will not be enough, but reinforcements from Yaques and Asgard would reportedly arrive, but many did not know if they would resist before everything was destroyed. The leaders on the other hand could not do anything until they found Cao Cao, since he was the cause of all this destruction and chaos, and if the hero killed a Mao, that would only make the panic and chaos spread even more, and not they could allow that to happen. Meanwhile, the Redeed's entourage was just crying, mourning Issei's death along with the others. At some point Sona's entourage arrived at the place with Razor to help fight, but his strength and motivation were lost when he learned that Issei was dead. Tiamat. No, it can't be, said, still in shock. Tiamat. This is all your fault, he said, taking Office by the neck. Yes, if only he had not been so stupid. He sniffed. He would still be alive, he said, releasing the lowly's neck and falling to his knees on the ground. Office. I'm sorry too, sniff sniff, I'm really sorry, she said, crying. Bizarra. Oni-chan, sniff Baka. Greg. Now calm down mate, I'm sure he sniff is alive, sniff sniff, we just have to wait for him to appear, he said while I cried inside the booster gear. The boys lamented the death of Issei, and on one side, an Akeno was seen with a dead look looking at the sky thinking about the albino. Akeno. Issei looking at the sky that was crimson because of all the chaos. Razor. Sister, he said, seeing her sister hugging him while he cried, I'm sorry I. Ravel. Sniff Issei sniff. The girls in Sona's entourage were also crying, while Sona just held her chest tightly while he felt his heart break, knowing that the boy she loved was dead. Grafia, who was there, quickly dried her tears to walk towards where her husband was. Tiba. He will go with Surziches. Grafia-san. He said looking at the maid who was taking out her wings. Grafia. Yes, Surziches-sama will need all the help possible to solve this, by the way, she said, taking out a paper. Give this a report to Riaz, she said to leave. Tiba. I reported, he said when the paper was somewhat confused, but then he saw how Akeno's father approached him. Barakwil. Kiba-san, where is my daughter? The blonde only took the fallen man to where her daughter was. Akeno remained the same, her eyes seemed lifeless, while she did not move even a millimeter. Barakwil. Daughter looking at the black-haired woman. Akeno. Towson, he said reacting to his father's voice. Issei-kun, he sniff sniff, he left, I couldn't say goodbye to him. Sniff, I couldn't tell him how much I love him, said, starting to cry again. Tiba only watched as Barakwil consoled his daughter, and he alone left clenching his fists, angry at the loss of his friend. Tiba only returned with Yu, Gaspar and Saji, who were just crying silently and lamenting. Saji. Hello, Kiba said looking at the blonde. Tiba. What's wrong, Saji? Where is Sona and the others? Seeing that the girls disappeared. Saji. They are just crying in a secluded place, with Ria said sad. Did he really die? Yu. Yui and Lin said it, and Office also, he was poisoned with Samuel's blood. I don't really know if he died, but he said, looking at both girls' swords, it is most likely, he said, squeezing the children with anger, even if he is dead, getting up, we will avenge him. Tiba. Yes, and another side. Riaz could be seen in her room while she was comforted by Sona, who, although she was also crying, held back her tears a little longer. Riaz. I sniff sniff, liar, you promised me you would come back. Sniff, why the hell did you save Office? Sniff, damn suicidal stupid. Sniff sniff, now, as Ethan will be born. Sniff, he said crying. The Redeed was still crying, but suddenly her door was kicked open by Sareog. Riaz. Sareog. What are you doing here? She said looking at her cousin. Sareog. That's what I'm asking you, what the hell are you doing there crying? The underworld needs us, he said looking at the Redeed. Riaz. My life no longer makes sense. Sniff sniff, without my ice I don't know what to do. Sareog. Wow, who would have thought that the great Riaz Gremory really fell in love? You and Sona always said that they preferred to be single, or said that they hoped that her marriage would not be so bad, he said, trying to provoke Riaz to make her leave bed. Riaz. You know, when I met Ice for the first time, I thought he was just a silly boy who only smiled. I was wrong, he was a true hero, always helping everyone. He even helped me when I was a child to keep bullies and idiots away. I fell in love with him as a child, but I pushed him away when I told him I didn't have a sacred gear. He didn't get depressed, he even got angry. I'm happy for his brothers, and he still wanted to be my friend, even though I pushed him away myself. I really fell in love with him, even though I knew he couldn't protect me, he still found a way and continued doing it, and not only with me but with everyone else too, and that's why I love him, why he was always my hero, the person I loved the most. My eyes, he said releasing a few last tears to remember the good times with Issei. Sona. Sniff, he, that's how Issei always was. He sniff sniff, she said, also releasing some tears. Riaz. Please leave me alone, she said depressed. Sareog. You are not the girl who always maintains composure, and a cool mind. Issei would be disappointed in you, she said looking at the Redeed. Riaz. Shut up, you don't know anything about ice, she said, looking angry at Saryog. Saryog. I know him enough and I know he wouldn't like to see the girl he loves the most like this, she said seriously. Riaz. You don't know that. Saryog. Yes, I know. In battle we not only share feelings, we also share memories, and I know that he beat me for something that I lacked, something that cost me a lot to achieve, she said, looking at the ground. Sona. And that is it? Saryog. Will. Iridid remained silent at that answer. The girl knew that the albino, although he did not like fighting very much, knew that the albino also never gave up on anyone, and that the only thing that could stop him was the same god from the Bible and the Demon King. Saryog. Besides, do you really think he's dead? What kind of wife are you if you just cry without knowing if he is really dead? When this is over, go look for his body, and if he is really dead, you can cry all you want afterwards. Riaz. You're right, she said, wiping her tears. Sona, call the others, we're going to defend the underworld, she said it would be. Sona. Hey, she said, happy to see her friend standing again and happy because Saryog's words also motivated her. At that moment Kiba arrived with the paper that Grafia left him and she gave it to the Riaz. Riaz. Report. She said, she looking at the paper. This is. Change of scene. Now you could see all the boys in front of the rivers while they wiped away their tears. Riaz. Guys, it's time to stop crying and get up like Ice always did for us. All. Hi. The boys are ready and prepared to fight, but a figure was watching everyone from afar and Ajuka was able to detect that presence. Ajuka. I didn't think you were a suicidal idiot, Sigfreed, he said as the shadow became clear and everyone could see the heroes with a smile. Kiba. Sigfreed said, upset. Sigfreed. I wanted to continue our battle, but apparently they have company, he said, seeing all of Issei's companions upset at seeing his face. You don't come alone either, right? He said as he took out his sword. Sigfreed. Well, when you come to make a proposal to a Mayu sometimes you need precautions, he said with a smile. You. And you're going to propose to him, you damn idiot. Sigfreed. No, but compared to his friend, I can do it, he said mockingly, making everyone get upset by the comment. Kiba. You bastard. Sigfreed. And what does Mayu say? If he joins us we will not kill him, we will also give him all the information of our investigations, and of course he will continue to retain his position as Mayu Beelzebub. Ajuka. You tempt me, but no, I will not become the puppet of Chaos Brigade. Furthermore, I did not become Mayu by power or by investigations, I did it because my best friend Surziches asked me to, he said seriously. Sigfreed. What a shame, then die, he said, launching magic attacks next to his lackeys. Ajuka reacted quickly to create a seal, returning his attacks, killing everyone except Sigfreed. Ajuka. Because of you, Issei died. Kiba. So we won't let you escape, he said when two swords and using them as Issei. Sigfreed. Don't underestimate me, Grand Baoming, he said, making two swords appear and launching two magic slashes that Yu and Kiba were able to repel. Yu. If you give up we won't torture you so much, he said seriously. Sigfreed. They really are stupid, he said, taking out a third arm that had a kind of syringe gun. Ajuka. That's it, when the red liquid that the syringe had. Sigfreed. That's right, it's blood from the old Mayu. Hahaha, let's see what he can do, he said, injecting it. The hero began to scream in pain while his veins were marked. He took the form of a spider with several arms and fangs. Kiba. You just injected yourself with steroids, idiot, he said as he launched himself against a hero and now mutant. You. And now you're harder to look at in the face than before, he said to also jump in. They both clashed weapons, but the incredible strength of the heroes caused Kiba's swords to break and also sent Yu flying. You. Shit, Kiba. You're a cheating bastard and you call yourself a hero. Sigfreed. How do you think he defeated Fafnir? He said with a smile. Kiba. Well, we won't give up either. If one sword is not enough to kill you, then I will use all the ones I can create, he said, making many swords appear around him. You. Remember what Issei said, what makes you strong is not the sword, it is the one who wields it, said crouching, and I will use what he taught me against you, he said, charging his power sword to launch several slashes and cut the hero. The swordsmen launched themselves again with greater force against the hero. The mutant had a hard time dodging and blocking both of their attacks, but at one point he made a pile of ice come out and stakes made of it almost impaled both of them. Sigfreed. Hahaha, let's see what they can really do, Dane's leaf, he said, summoning another pile of ice that separated both swordsmen from their other companions. Riaz. Are you guys okay? Kiba. Yes, but you, go ahead. You. We'll take care of him, he said seriously. Riaz. I trust you guys, let's go, he said went to his other companions. All. Hi. The others just left while leaving both swordsmen against the mutant hero. Kiba just used every sword he could and Yu made energy cuts to kill the hero. Sigfreed. Hahaha, they are good but not good enough, he said, so that the ice would expand and freeze his feet. Hahaha. Kiba. Shit, he said trying to free himself. Sigfreed. Haha, you know the only thing that bothers me is that Graham becomes difficult to handle, that's because of the change in power I have, but it doesn't matter, haha haha say hello to his friend he said, so that a spider's legs came out of his back and stuck into each one's stomach, making them spit blood. Both of them just asked to fall to the ground while bleeding out. You. Forgive me brother, I'm not strong enough like you. Kiba. Sorry, Issei, I'm pathetic, forgive me for dying at the hands of an idiot like him. Both of them just closed their eyes while their blood ran through their sword, but then a black and white glow came out of nowhere, and two swords familiar to both of them appeared on the scene while they heard Issei's voice. Issei. Hey idiots, you better get up, I don't want to see my best friends die. The white sword only shined and flamed white and healed both of them. Kiba. What he said when the swords, you. These are. Flash black a week ago, Kiba and Yu could be seen training with Issei. Kiba. No. I can do more he said tired. You. I'm finished he said falling to the ground tired. Issei. Let's go, we've only been there for 3 hours he said when we both met. Kiba. I am the one who has created swords without stopping. You. And I used all the power I had in my sword like you asked me he said looking at Issei. Issei. Sigh well I was going to give them a gift from me, but I don't think I'm not anymore he said looking at both with a smile. Both. What did he give away? Issei just smiled and in a snap he made two swords appear from a magic circle, one white with blue touches and the other black with red touches. Kiba. I ask for the white one. You. I'm the black one. They both tried to take the swords, but Issei stopped them. Issei. Hey, calm down, speedsters he said looking at both these swords are not his, or at least not for now. You. And what are you going to do with them? Issei. Well, they are a gift, but there is no reward without effort, so, I am going to seal them in your bodies, so they will only appear before you when you need them, or when you are about to die he said simply. You. And how are you going to seal them in us? Issei. Like this he said while stabbing both swords into both's chest. The boys just screamed in pain as they felt the swords pierce their hearts, but then the pain was replaced by more pain, as the swords went into the boys' souls. Issei. Ready, haha, enjoy your gifts, haha 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 he laughed while he saw them both holding their chests in pain for what the albino did. Both. You are an idiot. And flash black. You. Brother. Kiba. It seems that idiot is still helping us from the other world, hahaha, good he said taking the sword from him come on you. You. Yes, let's go together Kiba he said taking the sword from him. They both just launched themselves at the mutant hero and began to clash swords while the boys felt much more powerful and confident. You. This is because of my idiot brother he said he released a slash of black fire that completely cut and burned one of his spider arms. Sigfreed. AI damned he said looking at you. The hero only created more ice stakes to kill both, but they only destroyed him with the flames of the swords. You. These swords are imbued with the power of our best friend and my brother. Kiba. You won't be able to beat us. Both of them launched themselves while their bodies were covered by the flames of the swords. Sigfreed. Die now said throwing all the old man to kill them both. When the boys were completely covered by the flames, the hero's ice froze them both. Sigfreed. Ha I laughed thinking that they are both already dead. The heroes at that moment saw a large black and white flash come from inside the giant ice flow, and a very strong explosion, the ice was destroyed, and the hero, upon seeing the boys' hands, only saw them with a black and white knight's armor. Kiba. You. Sigfreed. What the hell he said looking at both. Kiba. I am hyoudou Kiba, guardian and projector of the offspring of the god of the Bible. You. And I am hyoudou, guardian of the demon king's offspring. Both. We are the knights and protectors of the future king of heaven and hell, and we will execute you. Sigfreed. A balance breaker. I don't care, they will die. The heroes launched themselves at both, but the swordsmen who now looked like knights jumped at the mutant, hitting him hard, stunning him. The hero, even without having reacted, was taken by his hand spider legs, and with a strong pull, they were torn off by both of them. Sigfreed. Ai, she screamed loudly as she felt how her arms were torn off. Both knights began to make cuts all over the mutant hero's body, and both with a single slash, cut off the hero's remaining arms. Sigfreed. Damn you I will kill them to all of you he said making thousands of spider legs grow on his back. The knights only charged a powerful attack with their swords and then launched a slash with all their power towards the hero. The hero tried to use ice to defend himself, but it was only destroyed by the flames of both. Sigfreed. Ai, he screamed before he was consumed by the flames of both, and a strong explosion was formed that everyone in that civil war could feel. Everyone at that moment saw the great exhibition, and when the smoke cleared they only saw a large crater, and in the center of the crater, they could only see Kiba and Yu returning to their normal forms falling on the ground tired. Yu. Haha you were right brother no effort no reward haha he said panting from exhaustion. Kiba. Haha even dead haha you're still saving our asses haha thank you very much. Both. brother Issei, they said before falling unconscious. When the companions of both swordsmen arrived at the place, they only saw unconscious hands with a smile, while they still had the swords that Issei gave them in their hands. Ajuka. Your knights are very powerful, Rias. Rias? Yes, but I see that they had some help, he said, looking happily at the swords that Issei gave them. Ice. On another side, you could see an albino open his eyes little by little. Issei. Where am I? Part 35 Arrival. The underworld was still being attacked after Kiba and Yu's gigantic and very epic fight against Sigfreed that ended with the death of the Dragon Slayer. Issei's companions were a little more encouraged since upon seeing the two swords that Issei left to his friends. Two friends could only motivate themselves even more and think that Issei was not dead yet. Some monsters began to attack the cities, specifically 13 monsters, but there was one that stood out, Azazel named him Jabberwocky. It was a huge monster, Graphy along with Surziches, and some of his pieces fought against the great monster, but the problem was what creature kept coming, and they divided in a strange way, as if when you cut one two more came out. Arena. I see, she said, looking at the swords of both swordsmen who previously defeated Sigfreed. Issei is still with us, said happily. Zenobia. Well, then we have to fight, that's what he would have wanted, he said, taking the sword from him. At that moment, white flames covered Roswis's body, and when she left, the armor that Issei gave to the Valkyrie could be seen. Roswis. Good, Issei also gave me his power, so I'll use it to avenge him. The girls put on their combat suits, while their looks were totally serious. Akeno put on a priestess outfit, and Rainer put on her fallen outfit. Rainer. This outfit is very embarrassing, he said, looking that he showed a lot of skin. Akeno. Ara, and why are you wearing it? Rainer. That idiot Kakabiel destroyed my previous suit, I hope Azazel sensei gives me another one. After getting ready, the girls went to battle, but before leaving, they could see a Gasper looking seriously at the great disaster from afar. Rias. Gasper. Gasper. Girls, he said, hugging Rias, the monsters are terrifying, but I must face them. Issei senpai taught me to be a man, so I will go fight, he said, determined in his words. The girls smiled when they heard those words, but a loud explosion shook them out of their confusion, and when they saw where Pravino was, they saw Sona and his entourage, somewhat scratched. Rias. Sona monsters are so strong, he said. It would be. Sona. Well, if you can call them that, she said, looking ahead. Heracles and Jean emerged from a screen of smoke. In Heracles' arms was the blonde launching magical attacks towards the girls. Sona. Don't let them live after what they did, she said angrily. Jean. Look, Heracles, more toys, he said, looking at the Gremory entourage. Heracles. Yes, it's a shame, Cao Cao missed it, he said with an arrogant smile. Rias. So Cao Cao is here, he said. It would be. Heracles. Yes, but he prefers to see how the creatures destroy everything in his path, apparently he finds it more fun. Sona. Rias, there is a truck full of children, we can't let them kill them. The boys were prepared to fight, but then a strong footfall caused a scream on the pavement, drawing everyone's attention. Sariag. Sorry to interrupt, but that idiot is mine, he said as he walked towards Heracles with his golden armor. Heracles. Finally, a worthy opponent, someone who is truly strong, the great Sariag Baal, he said, looking at the demon with his armor. Sariag. I'm sorry, I don't say the same about a trash like you, he said, his armor disappearing. Heracles. Aren't you going to fight with everything? He said, something confused by the demon's play. Sariag. Against you? No need, you won't even make me sweat. Heracles. I will make you swallow those words, you disgusting demon, he said angrily, launching himself against the demon. Elsewhere, Jean could be seen fighting Akeno and Arena. Akeno. You and yours, he said, bringing out lightning bolts from all over his body. You will pay for my ice kun's death, she said angrily, launching herself at the blonde. On another side. Issei. Where am I? Why can't I move? Office Yui. Lin, sorry, I didn't want them to get hurt because of my carelessness. Am I dead? Why is everything changing? Are those Kiba and Yu? Come on, get up, idiots, I don't want to see my friends die. Issei at one point stopped seeing the fight and could only see when he opened his eyes that he was flying through the stars as if it were a shooting star or a comet. The boy remained motionless, the albino only saw the stars in peace and calm. Little by little the albino was forgetting all the problems around him, but before he closed his eyes again, he could hear a voice. Come on, Issei, get up. Issei, upon hearing his name, opened his eyes suddenly and could see how he stopped abruptly. Come on, you're our brat descendant, you can't die from something as simple as being poisoned. Issei for some reason recognized that voice, but a second voice spoke. Come on, my son, you have to put the world in order, that is your duty, you have to go back to your girls. Issei. Wait, you are the boy, recognized both voices, but before he could say anything else, he felt how he fell as if he were in a dream. Issei only felt like he was falling without stopping as if he were in free fall, but then he heard a last voice that was somewhat more robust than the previous ones. Come on, kid, you can't stay asleep on my head forever. Upon hearing that voice, the boy felt how he woke up. His eyes widened and he was able to get up. When Issei got up he only saw that he was on a red floor and saw the sky full of stars. Issei. Where am I? He said confused. The boy just stood up, but he saw how the ground had scales, and then the robust voice spoke again. You are not on the ground, you are on my head, now get up, or I will do a pirouette so that you fall. Issei at that moment saw that he was on a giant dragon, but not a normal one, he was on the one who was said to be the king of all dragons. Issei. You are great, Red, he said surprised, looking at how he flew all over the starry sky above his head. Red. Until you finally wake up, tell me, did you have a nice dream? Don't tell me you dreamed something perverted, he said looking at Issei from the corner of his eye. Issei. How did I get here? Red. Well, apparently after your battle against Shalba, the world you were in was destroyed, and for some reason you ended up in the dimensional rift. I was going to leave you, but I felt like you were a dragon, and you reminded me of an old friend, he said simply. Issei. How did you know about my battle? Red. I put you in an illusion so I could see your memories, he said simply. Issei. And how am I alive? Samuel's blood. Red. Well, I gave you a little of my power, I'm surprised that you absorbed it as if it were nothing, ha ha ha, in fact I was surprised by the color of your wings, ha ha ha, he said laughing. Issei. The color of the boy at that moment saw his swords, and he did not have his typical Nephilim wings, he had dragon wings, the left one was white, while the right one was black just like his Nephilim wings. Red. Well, apparently your dragon blood was asleep, and when I gave you my power, well it just woke up with a bang, literally, you created a giant gap that took me through all time and space, it was fun, but the trip I get a little dizzy, ha ha ha, and tell me boy, what does it feel like to have my blood and flesh inside you, he said, looking at Issei. Issei. If you did something to me while he was sleeping he killed you, he said seriously and somewhat confused. Red. I'm not referring to that, I'm saying that now you have my power in you, it's something as if I had recharged a car battery with my power. Issei. I understand, and now I have your power. Red. Ha ha ha, yes, you are the first, so be happy. By the way, I saw a little of your dreams, and let me tell you that the underworld is under attack by the idiot that Fafnir killed. Issei. Shalba, and tell me how do you know that? The dragon just took a turn and warped reality to then show the hard fight in the underworld. Issei. Shit, Red, I propose you something. Red. He heard you, he said with some interest. Issei. Help me kill those idiots and change Sai, I promise you whatever you want. Red. Ha 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 ha, I hope you don't regret your words boy, because I'm not very easy to buy from, okay, hold on. The dragon just made a big turn and opened another portal through which it headed to the underworld. Elsewhere underworld, the Gremory and Citri group had won the battle, Heracles was on the ground half dead after the very humiliating beating that Sareog gave the hero. Jean, on the other hand, injected herself with blood from the old Mau to turn things around, but that was of no use since she only changed her appearance to that of a human and snake mutant. The now mutant only ran in terror since Akeno only threw very strong weapons. Lightning, and she couldn't do anything to counter them. Jean. Shit, said escaping from Akeno. Akeno. That won't help you at all, she said, launching a spear-shaped lightning bolt, causing it to stick into the mutant's tail. Akeno. Now, said, making a sadistic and evil face, shout for me. Elsewhere, a Sareog could be seen returning to the others, but then he notices a Retid next to Gasper fighting Georg. Gasper? You killed Issei senpai, he said angrily. Georg. Well, it was Shalba actually, hahaha, it was really a good idea to get that idiot out of hell, hahaha, and I assure you that anyway that stupid hybrid wouldn't have lasted against us, we just gave him a little suffering compared to what we would do to him, he said with an arrogant and mocking smile. Gasper just lowered his head while his hair covered his eyes. Gasper? Shut up, trash. Those words surprised Georg, but even more so Rias. Gasper? Don't ever talk about Issei senpai like that again, never, he said while looking at Georg with dead eyes. Gasper? I'll teach you what Issei senpai taught me, bastard, forbidden invades valor the beast. As Gasper said those words, he began to surround himself with a completely black and dense fog. It spread through the area quickly, until reaching a certain point, bats and spiders began to emerge from it. When the hero saw this, he only tried to counterattack with his own fog. But Gasper's fog was the strongest at the end and began to engulf the Georg. Georg. No way, take this away from me, and no please, I don't want, The boys could only hear the man's loud screams as he was covered by Gasper's fog, and at the end of the loud screams, only half-eaten parts of the hero's body were left by Gasper's creatures, as if they had been torn from his body. Gasper finished alone and fell to the ground unconscious and tired. Everyone saw that as a big surprise, but everyone wondered, what the hell did Issei teach Gasper? Rias. Gasper-kun, he said walking until he was next to Gasper. Sareog. Rias your servant. Rias. Yes, I know, I thought that his old family hated him because of his impurity, but apparently seeing Gasper, it is something much deeper than what he believed. The boys only took Gasper to Kiba and Yu, who were still unconscious after their battle, and in the distance he could hear the screams of Jean, who was tortured by Akeno and then was impaled by Rainer and Yuri's light spears. After that Kiba, Yu and Gasper woke up after a few hours and saw that the civil war had not yet ended. In the distance you could see the creature that Shalba summoned destroying everything. The mass tried to stop it, but it was difficult for them to face so many monsters and also rescue the people left behind in that war. In another area you could see Tiamat fighting the monsters with Office, while Hela, Izara and Valerie took care of the refugees. In another side, in the capital everything was being a disaster. The Jabberwocky reproduced more creatures from 10 to 5 meters, and the worst of all was that the creatures when attacked by the mass and their allies did not seem to receive any considerable damage. Raphia. Leviathan shouldn't be here, he said, seeing Seraphol coming out of a magic circle. Seraphol. And watch the underworld be destroyed. No way, as a Maya my duty is to take care of the inhabitants of the underworld. I can't sit idly by and do nothing while people die, he said it would be. Tannen. Yes, the problem is that we cannot attack at full power, since we would lack our allies. The EMON1. Graphia Sama, what worries us most are those creatures it releases, there are too many of them. Graphia. I know, to stop them we have to kill Jabberwocky, but that unfortunate seal keeps us busy with his babies, he said, freezing several of the creatures they released. The battle intensifies further. The Gremory and Setri entourage joined with Graphia and Seraphol to fight against Jabberwocky. Izara and Valerie used their balance breakers against the monster, but it seemed that it did not care about their presence when it was hit. The boys are very frustrated at not having enough power, but suddenly at that moment a gigantic gap in the flight opened, surprising everyone, and Red came out of it. Riaz. That's great, Red, he said looking at the dragon. Yui. No, Sniff, maybe, she said looking at the dragon with joy while crying. Lin. Yes, Sniff, Sniff, it's him, she said looking at the dragon, but she felt a very familiar aura. The boys did not understand, but then they saw a raincoat that was very familiar to them on the dragon. The young man who was on the dragon's head was just smiling as he felt the adrenaline running through his body, and at that moment they saw our beloved white-haired man. All. Ice kun Issei, brother Oni-chan. Issei. Here Ed, I'll take care of the surrounding army, I'll take care of that thing, otherwise I also have to kill an idiot with a spear, she said with a smile. Red. Hahaha, good, but it will cost you twice as much. Issei. Hahaha, good, he said looking at the ground. Let's dance. Issei at that moment just jumped off the dragon's head and took off his dragon and Nephilim wings. All of Issei's companions were surprised when they saw Issei's dragon wings, but a certain dragon in booster gear was very proud when he saw those wings. Issei, I am the one who will dominate hell. As the chant began, Yui and Lin only went to Issei's hand to continue his transformation. Issei. Did you girls miss me? Yui. He doesn't know how much Sniff he loved, he said happily. Issei. Then I will make up for the bad time I put them through, but now, he said looking at the monster, it's time for action. Issei just fell to the ground like a meteorite wrapped in black flames, and a huge pool of black fire was present, drawing the attention of everyone in the underworld. In another side, Cow. And it can't be, he said looking at the pillar of black fire that could be seen from everywhere. Why, you're supposed to be dead, curse, he said furiously, breaking the ground with a stomp. With Issei, the enormous pillar of fire dispersed, and everyone could see Issei with his black armor and wings of the same color, showing everyone the splendor of him as the king of demons. Issei. Come out of hell and serve your king, Fafnir. As he said that, a grate on the ground appeared again, and Fafnir came out of it. Issei. I am the king of the demons, and I will not tolerate the imbeciles who try to mess with my territory and my subjects. Issei only made his shadow spread, and out of it came Cerberus, along with a giant pack of wolves at least 8 meters high, and several bats also came out and began to attack the enemies. Issei's allies along with the mass and the soldiers only smiled when they saw Issei, and some shed some tears when they saw his friend return from the dead to save them. Issei. You guys, he said pointing at Yu and Kiba, from today you are my protectors and right hand, now use all your power and help your king. Both. Both only wielded the swords that Issei gave them, and both were only covered by their respective flames as they appeared with their armor. Issei continued attacking with his army of shadows, and Cerberus began to attack Jabberwocky, preventing it from continuing to reproduce. The giant 3-headed dog bit the creature hard, making it bleed. Elsewhere you could see Fafnir devouring several of Cao soldiers while he had a smile. After a while in which Issei's creations wiped out Cao's army with Red and Fafnir, the boy little by little returned to normal with Kiba and Yu. End music. Issei's companions only ran to where he was and only saw him with his wings spread while he smiled. Riaz. Ice. Issei. Hello guys, I'm back, he said with a smile. Issei's girls, seeing that smile, only shed tears while they attacked him with a powerful hug. Yui. Master Baka, I worry a lot about you. Lin. Please don't leave us again. Kaneko. Issei-kun is a baka. Bakeno. Please never do that again. Izara. Oni-chan, baka, he said hitting Issei's chest. Yuri. Please never abandon us again. Issei. Hahaha, sorry for everything, but looking at Red who was just laughing while using his fire breath to kill his friends, I was making a new friend. After the girls stopped crying, Issei stood up and saw Riaz crossing her arms while she had her hair covering her eyes. Issei. Riaz Riaz. You're an idiot. Issei. Sigh yes I know he said as he approached, and I am very sorry that you have worried so much about me Riaz. I have something to tell you, something that I have wanted to tell you for a long time a lot. Riaz. No sniff, I want to hear any of your stupid words she said she angrily. Issei. Riaz I love you. Riaz at that moment raised her head surprised by the albino's words, but when she looked into his eyes, she could only feel Issei's soft lips colliding with hers. Riaz only let out even more tears when she felt Issei's kiss, and she couldn't take it anymore, and she just hugged him tightly while they continued their passionate kiss. When they separated, they could see a still upset Riaz, but not as much as before. Riaz. You're still an idiot who made me worry about him. Issei. I promised to reward you for that, but now, we have to end this disaster he said seriously. All. Hi. Issei just smiled at that, and everyone returned to the battle with a new air of hope. Part 36 Heroes Never Die. After the incredible appearance of Issei, all the warriors fighting against Cao Cao's army became motivated. The albino along with Red was able to exterminate more than half of his army in a few minutes. The boys were still fighting and exterminating the few giants that Cao Cao's giant monster created, and while the boys were exterminating their offspring, Cerberus along with Garm fought Jabberwocky. Office. Issei I feel the power of Cao Cao over there she said, pointing to an old castle in a destroyed city. Issei. Well, let's rock he said to go towards the direction the dragon gave him. Issei's companions only followed the white-haired man, while Sareog stayed with Hela, Sona and Tiamat's entourage to combat the few remaining Cao Cao warriors, while Valerie's team protected the survivors. When the boys arrived at the castle they saw that there was no one there, but when Issei set foot in the place he could only turn and dodge a spear that was going to her heart. Issei. Wow, I never thought that the great Cao Cao would try to attack his enemy by surprise he said, seeing the hero come out of the shadows. Or are you afraid of me? He said something mocking. Cao Cao. How are you still alive he said frustrated. Issei. No pathetic poison can kill me haha, and also tell us that I had some help when Samuel's blood entered my bloodstream he said, pointing to Red who could be seen through the window, launching a large burst of fire from his jaws. Apparently he likes me. Cao Cao. You are a bastard he said angrily, you should be dead. Issei. Real heroes never die, they are reborn as legends he said with a smile. Issei continued to look mockingly at the hero, but suddenly a crack opened showing Pluto who with his scythe tried to cut Issei in half, but Issei simply took the tip of the scythe with his fingers, and by covering his hand with black fire, he destroyed the scythe. Cao Cao. Pluto. Weren't you with Hades? Pluto. Hades-sama gave me orders to take the Dragon of Infinity with me. Issei. That reminds me, go and tell the idiot Hades that he has a pending date with me he said, well he snapped his fingers hahaha, and believe me when he told you that it won't be pleasant at all. Issei continued looking at both of them seriously, but Issei knew that Cao Cao was his priority. Issei. Kiba, are you in charge of the skeleton? Both? Sure. Valerie. Wait he said, drawing everyone's attention, here are two strong rivals, you and Kiba already fought Sigfreed and killed him, it's my turn now to fight. Issei. Ah it's true he Fafnir won't like to know that they killed his prey, but he will surely be happy to know that he is already dead. Azara. But I also want to fight, I'm going to show Oni-chan that I'm very strong. Zenobia. I wanted to fight too. Riaz. Me too, I want to show that I am very strong. Issei. Sigh girls, I don't think this is the best time to discuss this he said with a drop of sweat on the back of his neck. Pluto just snapped his fingers, and 3 copies of his came out to show his sharp scythes that were noticeably more than sharp. Issei. Well, that settles it, hahaha tell me Cao Cao, do you want to dance? He said bowing as if he were going to dance. Cao Cao. Don't make fun of me damn he said taking his spear to attack Issei. Issei just unsheathed Yui to clash weapons, Issei just smiled in a sadistic way to take out Blue Rose, and he will start shooting. The Shinigami also attacked the girls, while Issei's companions only watched the situation on a couch eating popcorn, as if they were watching a movie. Office. What are they doing? She said somewhat confused. Kiba. We won't stand while we watch this will take a while, and Issei seems to be having fun he said looking at Issei's smile. Arena. You can do it Issei-kun he said encouraging the boy. Issei only slashed with Yui while with Blue Rose, he fired bullets loaded with lightning that the hero could barely dodge. Cao Cao. We see what you think of this Chitsuka Ratana he said, making his spheres appear and making one of them attack Issei. The weight quickly shot towards Issei and hit him squarely. Everyone. Issei. When the boys saw the albino, they were only surprised as he covered himself with dragon wings. Issei. Wow he said looking at his wings, it seems that being a complete dragon now my resistance and many more things increased in me he said with a smile. The albino just smiled and put away his wings and then appeared in a blink of an eye next to Cao Cao, giving him a strong blow to the face. Issei. Well, 2 of your 5 spheres are useless with me, haha, so let's see what the others are for, he said with a sadistic smile. The boys just smiled when they saw Issei's smile, but a certain black-haired girl just licked her lips with a blush when she saw Issei's smile. The Keno. Ice-kun looks very handsome with that smile, he said with a blush. In the other battle, the girls were fighting the Reapers with some difficulty. The scythes were apparently reinforced with some seal that increased their strength and sharpness, and that made things difficult for the girls. Bizarra. Shit, he said looking at his scratched armor. Greg. Partner, I think you should use that. Albion. You too, Valerie, if they continue like this, that idiot will kill both of them. Bizarra. Well, I trained a lot to master it, let's see what happens. Bizarra. I, the one who awakens, am the celestial dragon who stole the principles of the domiciliation of God. I laugh at infinity and despise dream, I will become the red dragon of domination. I will plunge you into the depths of crimson purgatory. Valerie. I, the one who awakens, am the one who stole the supremacy of God. I send the infinity and pursue the dream. I will become the white dragon of supremacy, I will take you to the furthest limits of innocence. Both. Juggernaut drive. Both armors began to change and were becoming more and more like a real dragon. Both girls looked like a real dragon, and their armor became brighter. Bizarra had very shiny red armor that seemed impenetrable. And Valerie's armor was the same, except with the difference that it was platinum in color. The 2 Shinigami were not even fazed by the incredible increase in power of both of them and launched themselves against them. Valerie. Compression divider. As he said that, the strength of the surrounding Shinigami dropped abruptly, and the Shinigami's scythe collided with both of their armor, not even making a scratch. Bizarra. Maxi transfer boost. As she said that, the strength of all of her companions increased abruptly, causing a lot of energy to run through everyone's body. Both girls only launched a strong blow, causing both Shinigami to crash against one of the castle walls. Valerie. Haha, this is my juggernaut drive, and it's much more powerful than yours, Sekirute, he said with mockery and arrogance in his words. Bizarra. Of course not, mine is much stronger since I partly have real dragon blood, that's why it surpassed you, he said looking at Valerie. Valerie. I'm stronger, she said looking annoyed at Bizarra. Bizarra. No, I am stronger, she said looking face to face at the albino. Both girls began to look at each other to death while pushing each other while holding their hands. Tiba. It seems like the rivalry between them never ends. Keno. It seems so. Drake. Partner, it's not a good time to fight now. Albion. Shut up, Drake, comrade, show him who's boss. Red. Drake. Shut up, you idiot, partner, kill him now, prove that you are my granddaughter. Both dragons and girls were fighting each other, while the spectators only watched with a bead of sweat on the back of their necks. With Issei, the boy continued fighting the spear guy while he became increasingly frustrated. How cow. It seems that you even became stronger, he said looking at Issei, but he noticed that his pupils were slanted, so you are a real dragon, that explains the powerful strength he has now. Issei. Haha, isn't it ironic, every time you try to kill me you only make me stronger, you should give up, you already lost. How cow. Maybe you won some battles, but you still don't win the war, he said, making one of his spheres come in front of him, Kahabataratana, saying that only made the hero split into 12 versions of himself. Issei. Well, come here, you idiot, he said, making some shadow clones of himself appear to back him up. The clones of both launched an attack, but the Issei clones had the advantage. The Issei clones at a great speed, compared to that of Cao Cao's clones, cut the hero's clones in half, making them retreat. Cao Cao is slowly getting tired, while Issei seemed to be fresh as a rose. At one point Issei jumped to decapitate Cao Cao, but he quickly teleported before the sword cut his jugular to save himself. Issei. It seems that you are tired, he and I can do this all day, stop playing and come with everything, or else I will kill you very easily, he said with a mocking smile. The hero only became enraged upon seeing Issei's mocking smile and began to use all of his power. Seeing that, Issei only created several swords of light that began to be thrown towards the hero. How cow. Kahabataratana, he said, creating clones of himself to be able to more easily dodge Issei's swords. Issei. No matter how many clones you make, I'll just have to create more swords to destroy your clones, he said, making more swords come out to attack the hero. But the girls, Bizarra and Valerie, had the battle completely dominated. At one point they stopped fighting and began to destroy the Shinigami. Ria's girls put them together. All. Hi. Zenobia with a strong blow, she kicked his opponent, making him collide with the other versions of him that were also thrown by the others until they were back to back. Seeing the opportunity, Ria's just formed a small sphere of destruction with her fingers and pointed it towards the skeletons. Ria's. Fall into the crimson blonde and be destroyed, crimson explosion, he said, causing a large crimson blast to completely destroy and kill the skeletons. After that powerful attack the Shinigami disappeared and only left a gigantic trail of destruction. With Issei. How cow. At Susaratana said teleported the weights elsewhere at Susaratana at Susaratana at Susaratana at Susaratana at Susaratana. The hero only teleported Issei's attacks, and little by little he got tired and ran out of magic. The hero, in a moment of carelessness, let Issei stand next to him, which was his biggest mistake. Issei, being close to the hero, cut off his right arm, making him scream. How cow. Ai. Issei. That's because of Izara and Valerie. Issei quickly moved to his left side and slashed his left leg. Issei. That's because of Office. Issei watched as the hero fell to the ground while he screamed in a heartbreaking way. Issei. And this covering his fiery fist, it's for everything you do, you bastard. Issei only hit the hero's face hard, smashing it into the ground, causing a crater to form under the hero. Cao Cao was alone in a crater with his face almost disfigured by the blow, but it was seen that he was still almost alive. Cao Cao. And now what? Cough cough, will you kill me? He said, dying and spitting blood. Issei. I like that, but no, I will leave you to be executed like the criminal that you are. That is the fate that the false hero that you are deserves, he said seriously. Issei just turned around, leaving Cao Cao on the ground bleeding out. The hero was still wondering what he did wrong, and the answer was very obvious, messing with the underworld and that boy's loved ones. The hero could only laugh in case of stupidity on the ground, while he little by little died, but then a portal opened and a dying Georg emerged from it, while it seemed that animals or insects had devoured his body. How cow. Georg. It's time to go, cough sir, he said, giving him some phoenix tears until his wounds were healed, or at least most of his wounds were healed, and then he disappeared into a magic circle. Back with Issei, after finishing the battle and leaving the castle, he only saw how Cerberus and Garm were waiting for him while they licked the blood that was left on his face. Issei. Haha, good boy Cerberus, good boy, he said, caressing the three heads of the dog. After looking around him, he noticed that the flames of chaos that formed Cao Cao's army had already gone out, and some of his army's few warriors had just been devoured by Fafnir and Red. He was just looking at Issei from afar. Time skip. After the girls hugged Issei again and gave him away again because of his stupidity, the boys just went to see how the situation was and were surprised that Red is looking for Issei. Red. Hey kid, I already helped you, so you owe me one, he said, looking at Issei. Issei. Yes, and thank you, so tell me what you want. Red. Good. Ha. I just want to spend some time with my son, he said, looking at Issei. Issei. All that. Red. Ha. Wow, you didn't know, by helping you so you wouldn't die from poisoning, I gave you my blood and flesh, thus awakening your dragon powers, but these also worked with mine, so basically you are like my son or stepson, like you tell him. Valerie. So you are now the son of Great Red. Issei. Damn sigh, okay, so you just want to hang out with me? Red. Well, maybe also see the human world, I haven't visited it for a long time, so I'll appear when you least expect it, Chico. Ha goodbye, she said, taking flight and disappearing into a crevice. Issei. Damn, and I didn't want to be a dragon anymore, sigh, well, I can't complain either, he said, taking out his wings, this is fun. Izara. Oni-chan, your wings are amazing, he said, seeing Issei's wings. The girls only touched and saw Issei's new ones, while he only felt ticklish there. Fafnir. Hey Chico, he said, drawing everyone's attention, where is the idiot Sigfreed? Issei at that moment only saw both swordsmen who could only look nervous. Issei. He's dead, they killed him for you, he said, pointing at both boys. Fafnir at that moment just growled and looked seriously at both of them. Fafnir. You killed him, he said, looking at both. Hi, sorry Mr. Fafnir. Fafnir. Well, no problem, as long as that bastard is dead the better, although I would have liked to devour him. Issei. By the way, Fafnir, I have a deal for you. Fafnir. A deal. Issei. Yes, so that you no longer have to return to the underworld, I offer you to be my familiar. Fafnir. Me. Your relative. Rias. Issei, are you sure? Issei. Well, it helped us, and it seems that they are not bad as they said in the stories, so what do you say, do you accept? Fafnir. As long as you get me out of that place, I'll do anything. As he said that, a red mark appeared on both of their right hands. Issei. Starting today you will be my family and servant, do you agree to be? Fafnir. I already said that the graphene couldn't finish since little by little it was shrinking, it became a chibi form of it all. Kawaii. Fafnir. What the hell is this, he said, looking at himself. Issei. Well, so you won't get in the way at home, but don't worry, but when it was time to fight with you, it was your original signature. Fafnir. I still don't like it. Asia. How adorable, wait, he said, invoking his little dragon look, they are the same. Fafnir. Ha, don't compare me with the dragon, couldn't finish speaking as it quickly clung to Fafnir, as if he were in love. Akeno. Ara, it seems that Fafnir-chan got a friend, she said, something mockingly. Fafnir. Get away from me, he said, trying to separate himself from the dragon of Asia. Time skip. After that scene the boys only returned to the Grimory mansion, meeting the Mass and the others. Sona's entourage, seeing Issei alone, rushed towards him, kissing him everywhere, happy that he was alive along with Kuroka, Lefei and Seraphil. Surziches and Azazel. Issei, they shouted, hugging him. Surziches. It's a good thing you're not dead, sniff brother-in-law, he said, hugging Issei wet after him, crying in a funny way. Azazel. Issei, I sorry for insulting you all the times wet after you didn't listen, and sorry for everything, sniff, you can call Crow again if you want, he said, crying also with a funny signature. Issei. Okay, but don't worry too much, he said, trying to separate them both. After a meeting full of tears and hugs, the boys noticed a great change in power and strength in Issei. Office. Issei, I have to tell you something, he said it would be. Issei. What's wrong, Office? Office. Now that Red said he was basically a son and also a good dragon, that qualifies you as a new dragon god, he said seriously. Riaz. It's true, and how big Red did he give you his blood and flesh? Issei. I really don't know, he was still unconscious when he transferred his blood and flesh to me, according to him, that caused Samuel's blood to be quickly destroyed by my dragon blood. Kiba. So now you're a dragon god. Issei. It seems so, ooh, and congratulations, he said, looking at Yu and Kiba, they managed to release the balance breaker of the swords that I gave them, haha, now they will be my guardians and right hand. Yu. Thanks, I guess. Kiba. Yes, in that transformation I felt very powerful, what exactly was it? Issei. Well, just the four of them a little with my fire, and they create an armor almost the same as mine when I transform. I suppose that by doing so they transform into a kind of demigod. Both. We are demigods, they said happily. Issei. Haha, well, it's time to go home, okay? All. Hi. Saying goodbye to that long day, the boys went to each place to rest from their long and hard battle. Part 37 Things that go wrong. After the victory and the war in the underworld, things have been calmer. Issei's girls have become very, very affectionate with him to the point of not leaving him at any time. Issei, that seemed kind of cute on their part, since it was also her fault that they got like that. Now Issei can be seen bathing in office while she plays with a small rubber duck. Issei. And ready, she said, finishing soaping her hair. This is like taking care of a dog, she said, pouring hot water on it so that the soap would come out of her hair and body. Office. Don't compare me to a dog, I'm an ancient dragon, she said, puffing out her chest. Issei. Yes, well, the millennial dragon already smelled something bad from not having bathed in several years, she said, looking at the lowly who was blushing. Office. See, shut up, Baka, she said sadly. Issei. Yes, just talk to me when you finish, she said before leaving, but at that moment the dragon stopped him. Office. Wait, don't you want to bathe with me? She said, blushing. Issei. Not really, just finished bathing, she said, leaving. Issei just left, leaving an upset Office in the bathroom, blushing. Office. Baka. With Issei. The boy walked through the hallways until he reached the room where his classmates were. Issei. Sigh, what a pain sitting down, I never thought it would end like this. Ellery. And how did it go with Office? Issei. At first it was a little difficult, the silly girl didn't even want to touch the water, but then I distracted her with a rubber duck. You. Well, you have to accept the consequences, she said she mockingly. Issei. Shut up, I killed more parkas than you, they only told me that for dying, the punishment for the bed is passed to me, because I was the only one who lost, he said, somewhat irritated. Akeno. Ara, what's wrong, Ice-kun? Would you prefer that you bathe us? She said in a flirtatious tone. Issei. Not really, because I probably wouldn't just bathe them, and I'd had enough of fun for a few weeks already. Akeno. How boring you are, she said, sitting on Issei's lap. You don't want to have fun with your senpai, she said, whispering in Issei's ear. The black-haired girl was about to kiss Issei, but at that moment a certain dragon lowly headbutted Akeno, knocking her to the ground. Akeno. Kai falling to the ground. Office. Issei, I'm done, he said, appreciating only with a towel. Issei. And what are you doing here? Go to your room to change, she said simply. Office. Won't you help me change? Issei. Sigh, yes, let's just go, she said, taking Office. They both left so the lowly could change, but the girls could notice that she had a somewhat mocking smile when she saw Akeno upset by her headbutt. Akeno. What's wrong? Ellery. I really don't know, she's been like this since the war ended, she said strangely. Riaz. Yes, she has been more attached to Issei, maybe no. Irina. What's happening? Riaz. Maybe she fell in love with Issei, she said, looking at the others. Kuroka. Nigh impossible, it is more likely that she will fall in love with a rock than with a person. Asia. Yes, but Issei-san is not just any person. Hiba. That's right, he is the harem king, he said seriously. The boys were still thinking about Office's new attitude, but at that moment a magic circle appeared showing a somewhat desperate Azazel. Azazel. Issei, come here, quick scream caught everyone's attention. Riaz. Azazel-sensei, what's happening? Azazel. I need Issei's help for something important. Issei. And that's it. He said, appreciating now with Office dressed. Azazel. Do you remember the experiment I told you about a few months ago? Issei. The boy couldn't finish since Azazel quickly covered his mouth. Azazel. SSSSSHHHH whispering, do you remember it or not? Issei. Yes, why? Azazel. In this house there is a laboratory, come on, he said, taking Issei to run away. Issei. How many rooms does this house have, he said, running with Azazel. Riaz. Where are you going? You. What does it matter, more space for us, he said, taking control of the video game from him. Iku. I want red. Kiba. Me the green. The boys just went to play while the girls were still surprised by what Issei and Azazel were doing. Time skip night. Azazel and Issei can be seen leaving the laboratory while a large screen of smoke was behind them. Azazel. Boy, we have got it, he said, raising a kind of posh purple. Issei. I hope all this rubbish is worth it, he said, tired and somewhat annoyed. Azazel. Good, now we only need one test subject, he said, thinking. Issei. And who will be the poor unfortunate one? He said, looking at Azazel. Azazel. Haha, well, maybe Surzich's. Haha, I already want to see his idiotic face when I tell him what I did. Well, I will leave half of the position here, make sure to keep it in a cold place, or it could affect the effect, he said, looking to Issei. Issei. Yes, just give it to me, he said, taking half the position at least. I hope this is worth it, he said, smelling the position a little. How disgusting, it smells like sulfur covering his nose. Azazel. It's because it's just been cast, give it a few hours to do it, he said simply. Well, I'm leaving, I have to prepare everything, goodbye boy, he said, disappearing. Issei just sighed so that after a few minutes he went to the kitchen and saved the position in the refrigerator. Issei after a couple of minutes went to his room to sleep with his girls. Time skip next day. Issei was waking up, the boy just yawned to get up, the boy only went to the kitchen to have breakfast, but when he arrived he only saw all his classmates and girls hiding. Issei. Okay, I don't really care much what you're trying to do, but this time I'm curious, what are you guys doing? He said, looking at everyone. The Fae. Monster. Issei, the monster will come and devour us, she said. She was scared. Asia. Issei-san, but you is a little strange, she said to the scared one. Murayama. Issei-kun, I'm scared. Issei. Weird. Tiba. You better see it yourself, he said, pointing to the room. Issei just sighed to go to the living room, and when he arrived he only saw a somewhat disheveled girl. Her shirt was open revealing her great cleavage, and she looked like a real delinquent. Issei. But what Riaz? He said, drawing the woman's attention. Deed, upon seeing Issei, only smiled sadistically and approached the boy. Riaz. While looking at Issei's body from head to toe, you are indeed handsome, and also muscular, he said, touching the boy's abdomen. Issei. Okay, what the hell is going on here? She said, looking at her companions who only saw them both while they were still hiding. Riaz. Hey bucking cowards, where the hell is my breakfast, she said, somewhat irritated. Asia. We'll bring it to you right away, but you, she said nervously. Riaz. Good and handsome, do you want to have some fun? She said, looking flirtatiously at Issei. Issei. Riaz, what's wrong with you? She said, something confused. At that moment a magic circle appeared and an angry Surzich's came out while behind him was a somewhat beaten Azazel. Surzich's. Hello guys, she said, greeting. Azazel. Hello. Issei. Surzich's. Azazel. Now is not a good time, she said, still looking at Riaz. Azazel. Yes, we know. Surzich's. This bucking bastard tricked me, he said, pointing at Azazel. By the way, I haven't eaten, do you have anything to eat? Issei. The boys are preparing something, it's better that we sit and wait. Time skip. After a few minutes everyone had already had breakfast, and now everyone looked seriously at Azazel and the delinquent Riaz who was on Issei's lap while she caressed him. Issei. Well, Surzich's. Azazel told me that last night you made a guess of the truth. Asia. Too far from the truth. Issei. Azazel told me that he had a kind of formula for a powerful drug that forces you to tell the truth no matter what. It seems that I will use it on Surzich's, he said, looking at the Redeed who was upset. Surzich's. Yes, the idiot put a few drops in my coffee, that's why I insulted many elders of the factions and almost caused a small war, he said angrily. Azazel. Sorry, I didn't know you were meeting with the pillars today, he said sadly. Issei. Haha, tell me Surzich's, is it true that you are the submissive one in your marriage? He said with a mocking smile. Surzich's. Yes, Grafia is the one in charge in the relationship, although sometimes she lets me take control, he said without complaining. Everyone who was listening was just laughing non-stop, and Issei and Azazel were just laughing at the truth of their friend. Surzich's. Shut up, Riaz. Wow, Ani-sama is a bitch, she said mockingly. Issei. Ha 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 ha, sigh, well it seems that way, ha ha ha. Surzich's. Shut up, Azazel. And what's wrong with Riaz? Issei. I don't know, he woke up like that, he said looking at Riaz. Asia. When she woke up she started hitting Biku and Arthur, saying that she was upset for not having her breakfast, she said, looking at Riaz with some fear. Azazel. I see. Thinking Issei, did you happen to see half of the pasima I gave you? Issei. I left it in the refrigerator at night. Riaz. A bottle with a purple liquid. Issei. Don't tell me that you. Riaz. I drank it, she said simply. Issei. Issei damn is a step. Ria's. Well. Flash black. You can see Ria's getting up in the middle of the night. The girl was still somewhat asleep and she just went to the refrigerator. Ria's. I'm thirsty she said opening the refrigerator. What's this? He said looking at the purple jar smelling it smells like cinnamon, maybe with a little hot milk it will taste good. The girl just heated up some milk and added some of the pasima. After that the girl just went to sleep, now a little calmer but a little tired from taking the pasima. Then flash black. Issei. I suppose that by heating it, the effect of the pasima changed. Azazel. It seems so she said taking the pasima. Let me see looking at an alchemy book. Here it is. She says that if it is heated the effect will change to something reversed. Yui. Reverse. Azazel. Let's say that by taking the pasima, Ria's personality changed to the opposite side of her. Issei. You're saying. Azazel. Yes, now the arrogant Rias that we always knew changed to a wild and delinquent Ria she said, looking at the redeed making obscene signs to Issei. Issei. Yes, I see she said, ignoring the signs that Rias was giving her. Sigh, it's good that we are in summer. Azazel. Well, look on the bright side. Issei. And that's it. Azazel. Now you have a beautiful criminal in love with you, enjoy it and don't worry, the effect should wear off in a few days. Surziches. Like what days? Take this away from me now she said taking the curved one's neck. Azazel. That's not how things work, you'll have to be patient. Go home and ask your wife for permission to let you do it with her a couple of times. Goodbye Surziches he said disappearing in a magic circle. Surziches. You are a son of a sighing and calm down Surziches you have been through worse things. Issei. Like that. Like what? Surziches. I was once an older woman's hex toy for money. Everyone in the room at that moment was only holding back their laughter, but some just couldn't hold back and laughed like crazy. Surziches. Shut up I did it for some poor children. Issei. Yes but there were thousands of other ways to help them. Ha 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 ha. Well, goodbye little brother-in-law. Ha 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 he said. Well Surziches was going in an angry magic circle. Tiba. And now what do we do? Issei. You guys just stay away from Ria's if you don't want her to kill you. Sigh at least a day, I don't know, can get worse. At that moment his doorbell rang and Issei just went to see who it was and when he opened the door, he only saw a mature red-haired man in a suit. Red. Hello boy she said with a smile. Issei. Red. Himself, how are you doing? He said hugging the boy. Issei. What are you doing here? Red. Well, I told you that I wanted to spend a father-son day and well, let's just say he was bored in the dimensional rift. Issei. Sounds good to me, but now is not a good time he said, looking at Biku terrified behind office so that Rias wouldn't hit him. Dasara. Ice kun who the woman at that moment just stopped and looked at the red-haired man in front of her with a blush. Hello. Red. Nice to meet you, I'm Great Red, the king of dragons he said introducing himself. Dasara. I'm K. Kisara Haidu, it's a pleasure she said, seeing the redeed still blushing. Issei. Well, come in and sit down she said letting Red in. Issei's house mansion seemed welcoming to the dragon, but when he arrived at the room, he only saw Office looking at him in a threatening manner. Office. What are you doing here Red? He said it would be. Red. That doesn't matter to you, girl, I'm just here to spend time with my boy he said, touching Issei's man. Office. Yes, well this is my territory so you can't be here he said, increasing his aura. Red. So what? Will you take me out? Don't you remember what happened the last time you tried to get me out of the breach? He said she with a mocking smile. Office. This time, it will be different. Both dragons were ready to fight, but before they could do anything, chains made of shadows wrapped around both of their bodies. Issei. Sigh I already saw this coming, so I'm going to make some rules for both of us he said looking at Red and Office. No fights in my house, and he emphasized, my house, do you understand he said looking at both. Red. TSCK it's okay she said clicking her tongue. Office. Good she said reluctantly. Both dragons calmed down so that after a few minutes everyone was in the mansion's courtyard. Red. Ready brat she said looking at Issei while he brought out his dragon features. Issei. I don't think this is a father and son time, but it's enough for me to hit you a little he said as his pupils became slanted and Issei's dragon wings came out. Red. Well, I want to know how much power my son has she said with a smile. Dasara. Son. Dasara. He is a dragon Oka-san, and let's say that by giving Issei a little power, his blood and flesh merged with Issei's, now he is Issei's stepson or something like that. Office. TSCK, idiot he said looking at the dragon. Issei and Red only saw each other, while each other's aura grew to the point that everyone felt the immense power that they both released. At that moment a leaf fell to the ground, and as if it were a bell ringing the start of the fight, both of them launched themselves to hit each other. Both of them just bumped fists, causing a large wave of air to shake everything around them. Issei just smiled while black flames came out of his mouth. At that moment Issei released a large flame of fire from his mouth that hit Red squarely. Dreg. It seems that the boy quickly adapted to his change as a dragon, he said, looking at Issei. Albion. I wonder if he can make Red use more than 10% of him. Greg. Hahaha, well, there's only one way to find out. When the albino released that great flare of fire, he only stepped back and stared at the flames that were still burning intensely. Issei. Come on, I know you're not dead, so get out and stop playing, he said seriously. At that moment Issei's flames were quickly extinguished and Annette emerged from the fire with her clothes somewhat burned. Red. You are very strong boy, not everyone causes a burn like he is, he said, showing his arm that was somewhat burned. Your flames are also very powerful. I must admit that you are very strong, he said with a smile. Issei. Thank you, but we both know that we haven't fought with everything yet, he said, unsheathing Yui and Lin. Red. Hahaha, well, he said as his clothes were torn and more dragon features came out. Let's see what you can do, Chico. Issei just smiled as he saw the dragon little by little taking more and more dragon shape, scales coming out of his entire body, and a tail and 4 wings coming out of his back. Azara. 4 wings. Office. The wings on a dragon show the level of power it has. In the case of Red, it is that he is very strong, having 4 wings. He said he would be watching the fight. Riaz. Looking at Issei. Akeno. What's wrong but you? Riaz. Ice, he looks very hexy when he fights, she said, looking with a blush at Issei. Everyone upon hearing that only saw Riaz with a bead of sweat on the back of their neck, but they had to admit that the battle was becoming more and more interesting. Issei just smiled in a sadistic way while Red did the same as they looked at each other. Issei just jumped at Red, but the dragon blocked the slash of Issei's sword with his claws. Red. You still have to learn from dragons, boy, he said as his claws grew longer and sharper. The man only threw a blow at Issei, but the albino blocked it easily with his swords. Both were immersed in battle. Cuts, blows and bursts of fire were all that was seen and heard in the battle. Both boys were in the air still fighting like true dragons. Red at one point took Issei by both arms and threw him to the ground, causing a large crater to form, while a large wave of air shook everything around. Red only went down, and when he saw the crater, he only saw an Issei with 2 fingers raised, while he had 2 small balls of energy in him. Issei. Destruction shot as he said that a large burst of energy shot towards the net. Everyone watched as Issei's great energy attack destroyed everything in its path, only leaving a large trail of destruction. When the smoke cleared, they saw Red with his clothes torn, while he had many scratches and was bleeding a little. Red. Haha, great attack. If he had been a demon or a normal dragon, he would be more than dead right now, he said, while returning to normal. Issei. You didn't do bad too. Throwing me to the ground made my back hurt a little, he said, looking with a smile. How about we declare it a tie, for now? Red. Hahaha, of course, son. Time skip. After Issei fixed the great destruction that their fight caused, Issei and Red could be seen being healed by Lin. Lin. Master, I know he gets excited in combat. Leto must not be so irresponsible. He almost destroyed a mountain in his fight, he said, while healing Issei. Issei. Sorry, now that I'm a dragon, he let me get more carried away in battles, he said, somewhat embarrassed. Red. Hahaha, that's right. What dragon doesn't get excited when fighting against a strong opponent, he said with a smile. Kisara. Mr. Red was very amazing, he said with a nice smile. Red. Haha, it's nothing, and please just call me Red, I don't really like formalities. Kisara. Well, then you guys just call me Kisara, she said, giving Red a beautiful smile. Both adults were only chatting about trivial things, and Issei and his brothers saw this as somewhat uncomfortable. Time skip. After their little fight, the boys returned to the house where they had fun for a while before going to sleep. Now you can see an Issei playing video games as always, but at that moment his door was opened by Riaz, who had a predatory look while she had a blush. Riaz. Hello Ice, you know, in the fight against Red you looked very hexy, so manly, so strong, a real rebel, he said, approaching Issei. Issei. Riaz, the girls are. Riaz. Don't worry about them, I forced them not to interfere, and I just bribed Yui and Lin, she said while climbing on Issei, so tonight you are all mine, and I won't let you escape my cute Ice, she said, kissing Issei. Issei only felt the warm and soft lips of the Redeed hugging his. The boy had to curse his dragon instincts at that moment, since that night he completely let himself go, making Issei have many hours of pleasure and fun with the delinquent Riaz. Part 38. I hate this. Today in Issei's room you could see an albino sleeping peacefully, while a still delinquent Riaz gently caressed him. Riaz. Sigh, my cute Ice, you are mine and only mine, and if any bitch wants to take you away from my side, I will kill her without hesitation, she said, hugging Issei's chest. You are only mine, my cute Ice. Both boys, after their night of very crazy fun, fell asleep completely, while Riaz had a face of total satisfaction. Time skip. After everyone woke up, Issei made breakfast for everyone. The date passed normally. The girls were now a little more comfortable with the delinquent Riaz, although the fear they had when she got upset was not lost. Issei's mother also spoke, and he spent a lot of time with Red, in fact too much. Issei didn't mind that, he just found it a little uncomfortable seeing them, since they acted like a married couple or teenagers in love. On that day they also received a visit from Azazel. Apparently Serziches was having a party for his victory in the underworld, and obviously Issei and the boys as a key piece in that victory had to go. The boys upon hearing that just smiled and were happy, but the most important thing was that the party would be on the beach, which excited the girls the most. Summer was a few weeks away from ending, and the girls wanted to spend as much time as possible having fun and obviously having some good times with Issei. Time skip. You can see the entire Grimoire entourage arrive at the beach through a magic circle. Apparently Hela, Tiamat, Office and Red, and Mother also wanted to come, since it would be the first time they would go to a place like this on Red's part. When the boys arrived, they were only surprised and excited to see the wonderful view that the charming beach offered them. When Hela saw the beach, she was amazed since it was the first time she had seen a landscape as warm and beautiful as that. After a while, Issei prepared things and put up an umbrella to rest from the sun. The boy didn't dislike the place, but that he didn't get along very well with the sun, since he burned easily, but Red clarified that now getting sunburn was nonsense, since the boy could withstand even the flames of hell, without getting a considerable burn from his part dragon. Issei, after a few minutes, decided to go into the sea, and when he took off his shirt, all the women could only let out a large nasal discharge when they saw Issei's statuesque body. Issei had a toned body with some scars that made him look very rough and manly. Asia. He is beautiful, he said with a blush. All the girls just nodded as they looked at every inch of Issei's body. Although the girls had seen him naked more than once, they had never seen Issei's body in the light, and the rays of the sun that hit his body only made him look more handsome. In view of the women. Issei. What's up girls? Do I have something on the sword? He said, curious since the girls couldn't stop watching him. Red. Hahaha, looks like you're not the only one with a good body, he said, arriving, showing the big muscles of him. That made a certain brunette blush. Hahaha, well that's to be expected from my son, he said, hugging Issei with a smile. Issei. I guess so, although I have more muscles than you, he said, showing the biceps of him. Red. I don't think so, showing his biceps too. I'm more muscular than you. Both boys were just showing off their bodies competing, while the girls were just enjoying the moment and taking some photos. Tiba. I feel like less of a man, he said, looking at the muscles of both boys, while he bought them with his own. You? Yes, just don't look at them, he said, somewhat depressed. Iku? Ha, say it for yourself, I'm really cool, he said while he joined the competition of muscle push-ups and poses, showing off his muscles. After the fun and comical scene in which Issei along with Red, Biku and Arthur showed and flexed their muscles, Saraog's entourage arrived at the place, and the beach became an area of fights between the demon and Rias. Rias? Die, he said, throwing a ball loaded with the energy of destruction. The ball grazed the demon's head, about to tear it off, and Saraog could only turn pale as he was almost decapitated by a ball. Saraog. Hey, that's not how you play volleyball. Rias. Don't start crying, cousin, don't tell me you're afraid of me. He said with an arrogant and evil smile. Saraog just looked at that smile with some frustration, but he knew that with his cousin's new attitude he couldn't do anything. Saraog. I give up, he said, lowering his head in defeat. Rias, upon hearing that, just smiled and returned to the boys while her entourage and her classmates congratulated her. The Keno. Ara, but you is much more wild and rebellious now, she said, looking at Rias. Yui. I guess he is no longer limited like before, now it seems that he attacks any opponent who comes in front of him without mercy, he said, looking at Rias sitting on Issei's lap. Rias. How do you think I did it, Ice? She said with a flirtatious smile. Issei. You did very well, Rias, I congratulate you, she said with a smile. Rias. You know, as Victoria's prize, I think you and I can spend some time alone, what do you think? She said while she had a blush and licked her lips predatorily. Issei. This me, Bizarra. Oni-chan, I shout, getting the boys' attention. Do you want to put sunscreen on me? She said while she was lying on a towel in the sand. Issei. Yes, of course, she said, leaving Rias aside so that Issei could go with the girl. The other girls, upon seeing Azara's play, only got upset, but each one copied the same action, since they also wanted Issei to pay attention to them. After a flash of Issei having to put sunscreen on each girl, Azara's entourage could be seen. Sona arrived at the place. The entourage, upon seeing Issei's body, blushed but did not avoid rushing towards him to greet him. Sona. Hello Issei-kun, he said, I was glad to see the boy, it's been a long time since we saw each other. Issei. I guess, sorry for not coming to see you, but let's say the girls are a little more overprotective than before, she said with a smile. Sona. Good, but later you'll have to make it up to me, she said with a joking nephew and a flirtatious look. Issei. Well, I think it's okay, she said, smiling. After that scene the boys just had fun on the beach. Issei competed with Red and Saraog, while Kiba and Yu watched them, feeling less masculine every second, and even more so when Gasper started competing with them too. Issei. Gasper, are you wearing a normal swimsuit? She said, looking at the boy who was not wearing a girl's swimsuit. Gasper. Yes, if I want to be a man like you, I will first learn to dress like one, he said, determined in his words. Red. Haha, it seems like you have a little disciple, that's fine with me, I'll also teach you to be a tough man that girls admire. Asper. Hey, he said excitedly. Hearing that, Issei just laughed while she submerged herself in the water, enjoying the coolness of the water all over her body. On another side, not far from the boys, you could see an Azazel mixing various chemicals on a table. The crow was as always in his experiments, but some girls accompanied him. Hella. So this is one of your crow experiments? He said, looking at the green liquid that he had in a small container. Azazel. Yes, can you hand me the gun from there? He said, pointing at a toy gun he read. It looked like it worked. Tiamat. And what is it? Azazel. This, my dear friends, is the first sample of a liquid that rejuvenates people, he said, pointing to the toy gun he had with a liquid. One shot from this baby, and it rejuvenates you instantly, although I don't know at what age. I could take you, he said, calibrating the gun. Tiamat. Haber, he said, taking the gun from the crow. It's very interesting, he said, looking at the gun. Azazel. Be careful, the trigger is very sensitive. If you don't do it carefully, it could. At that moment a shot came out of the gun that fell into the sea. Hella. Should we be worried? Azazel. No callow in the sea, I'm sure he just hit a fish or something. Now give me the gun before you kill someone, he said, taking the dragon's weapon. With Issei. The boy was alone floating in the calm sea, but at that moment a green beam falls on him, alerting all of Issei's companions. Yui and Lin. Master, they shouted worriedly. You. What the hell was that? Kibba. Aliens maybe. Red. Don't be ridiculous, boy, it's more likely that there was a dragon or a supernatural entity. You. That doesn't help, he said with a drop of sweat on the back of his neck. Issei's companions only went to check on their companion, but only a small figure covered in algae emerged from the sea. Issei's companions were ready to fight, but at that moment the algae burned in a black fire, and after the fire went away, it showed a small boy of maximum 12 years old. Yui. Master. Lin. What happened to him? Issei. Who? Akeno. Huh. Issei. Who the hell did this to me? Angry scream. All. Kawaii, they said, hugging Issei. Child. Issei. Let me go, I do not like this, he said, still angry. The boy's male classmates only laughed watching the boy, while Issei's mother and the girl hugged and caressed him, as if he were a stuffed animal. Lin. Gigi, master is adorable, he said, kissing Issei while he had them between his breasts. Asia. But what happened to Issei-san? Sona. We better ask Azazel-sensei. Kawaii, he said, hugging Issei. Issei alone went to the main party where all the other demons and Azazel were. When the boys arrived they only saw people having fun, but all the women and girls noticed little Issei walking, well he had a frown that made him look adorable to the women. When the boys arrived where Azazel was, they only saw him drinking, while Hala and Tiamat were in a contest to see who drank the most. Azazel. Huh. He said, looking at the little white-haired boy in front of him, what is a child doing here? Issei. It's me, Azazel, he said. It bothered him. Azazel, upon recognizing Issei's voice, only opened his eyes wide, but after understanding what probably happened, he began to laugh like crazy. Azazel. Ha 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 ha, looking at Issei, it seems like the position works well, he said, still laughing. Issei. Don't laugh, Yui. Position. Azazel. Haha, yes, a long time ago with alchemy I recreated a position to rejuvenate, me and the girls put it in this gun, and well haha, a shot escaped us, I guess luck is not with you on the day of today, boy, ha 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 ha. Issei. Ha 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 ha. At that moment Issei also began to laugh, confusing his companions a little, but at that moment a gigantic price made most of those present fall to their knees, and upon seeing Issei only shown how Issei's dragon wings came out, while a tail dragon hair and horns came out of his head while his pupils became slanted. Yui. Master. Seraphil. What is this power, he said, appearing with the other mass. Everyone present only saw how a crimson aura came out of Issei's body, and she gradually turned black and white. At that moment Issei saw Azazel and smiled in a crazy way. Azazel. Issei. Issei. Come here, crow. Azazel tried to run, but Issei grabbed him by the leg and began to hit him against the ground several times. Issei only after slamming the crow to the ground several times left it on the ground bleeding a little. Issei. Turning around, ha, weakling. Everyone present only watched in shock at the monster strength of the boy in front of them, while Red and Drake had a smile from ear to ear. Issei slowly calmed down, letting the air return to normal, while he kept his dragon features. Red. Ha 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 ha, of course, that's my boy, he said with a smile, very proud of Issei. Drake. Sniff, I'm proud of you, boy, sniff sniff, they grow up so fast. Azara. Drake, are you crying? Drake. No, it's just that he's raining. Valerie. What are you saying? We are on the beach and it is sunny. Drake. No, it's raining, sniff sniff, he said while letting out a few tears inside the poster gear. Surziches. What's going on here? Seraphil. That's Issei, he said looking at the child. Riaz. Long story. Time skip. After the boys will tell them what happened to Issei, and after Azazel will recover from the beating that the little albino gave him, all the boys could be seen looking at a red, while Issei was looking at the dragon's features of he. Red. Long tail, horns, very imposing wings, scales, ha 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 ha, it's official. It seems that little by little he was going through Dragaverdid, he said with a smile. Issei. Drago what? Drag. Let's say it's like puberty, but in the case of dragons it's more powerful and wild. Surziches. In what sense? Red. Well, his power can get more out of control like his emotions, and he becomes more irritable. You. So that's why he hit Azazel sensei so hard, he said looking at the somewhat scared crow. Drag. He will also enter a stage of savagery in which he will destroy everything in his path if he gets too angry. There are only two ways to prevent that from happening. Rias. And they are. Red. Make your hormones calm down from fierce and destructive fights, or. Drag. Hex. At that moment all the Issei girls blushed and looked perverted at the little Issei. Yui. Well, it doesn't sound that bad, she said with a blush. Akeno. Ara, I want to see all the cute faces that Ice-kun can make during Hex, Yufufu said, laughing. Perverted. Issei. Okay, it's official, I hate this. Heart 39 perverted. After Issei was transformed into a child because of a certain cave, he can be seen sitting on the sand, looking at the beautiful view that the beach offered him, trying to calm down and not kill Azazel. Issei. I hate this, he said looking at his child's body. Sigh. Well, at least it's temporary. Issei's classmates continued having fun while the girls watched little Issei in a perverted way. Rias. He, how cute, she said looking at Issei with a predatory look. Asia. Issei-sen is adorable as a child, he said looking at Issei. Yui. He, master, it's cute. Rias. Well, the competitions continue, so let's get started. All. Hi. The girls were competing against each other, and obviously the prize was a night alone with little Issei. Issei was alone on the beach, but at that moment a certain black-haired woman appeared. Seraphil. Hello Ice-tan, how are you? She said mockingly as he caressed little albino's head. Issei. Leave me alone, I'm not in the mood right now, he said, looking at the male Leviathan. Seraphil. Come on, I just wanted to see the cute Issei child, he said she while hugging Issei like a stuffed animal. Haha, kawaii. Issei. Leave me, he said, releasing himself from the black-haired woman's embrace. Don't treat me like a child. Seraphil. Sure, Ice-tan is very cute, why don't you come with one-chan, and let's eat ice cream? She said stroking the boy's head. Issei. Yes, if you stop bothering me, that's fine, he said reluctantly going with the black-haired girl. But the girls continued fighting. The ones with the advantage were Rias, Sona, Azara, Yui, Lin, and Valerie. Rias. Give up, I'm stronger than you, he said arrogantly. Valerie. Never, he said looking at the Redeed. The girls were in an extreme ping-pong competition, and the one who seemed to win was Rias. Time skip. Rias. Shit, he said looking that his racket was broken along with the others. Azara. Now what do we do? LS. Ara, did they finally stop fighting? He said arriving with the girls. Sona. Oka-sen, what are you doing here? LS. Fufu, did you think I would miss a beach party? You are very wrong, daughter, and I am not the only one, she said, pointing to Venelana and Zeoticus on a ferry strolling along the coast of the beach. Rias. Dad, mother. Both. Hello dear, they shouted from the ship. LS. Well, I saw them for a while, and I think I have a way for them to settle their dispute. Aki. And that is it? LS. A swimsuit competition, she said simply. Rias. No thanks, I don't want to show my body to simple, weak idiots, he said refusing. Zenobia. Yes, I don't like it at all either, she said nervously. LS. Well then I'll go look for that little Issei, she said with a blush and a flirtatious smile. Some women said he's very cute, licking his lips in a predatory way. He asked me what cute expressions he could make in bed. Fufu. Sona. I forbid you to get close to him, she said looking at his mother furious with her. LS. Ara, Sona-chan, you have to learn to share, besides your sister is with Issei-kun, you don't have to be afraid, she said, calming the girl. Arena. And then what do we do? Asia. I had an idea. With Issei. An Issei can be seen drinking a milkshake, while most of the women around him looked at him with a blush. Issei. He is very hot, he said happily taking the milkshake from him. Seraphil. Yes, said blushing while she had a nosebleed. Issei. You're bleeding, Seraphil, he said looking in chibi form as the girl's nose was bleeding. Seraphil. It's nothing, and you can call me one-chan if you want, she said looking at Issei. Issei. No thanks, she said simply. Seraphil. What, why not? Issei. Because I don't want to, he said looking at the girl. Seraphil. I so bad, she said with a pout. Issei and Seraphil were just walking around the beach, but at one point they saw people flying while a crowd formed. Issei. What the hell is that? Seraphil. Ah, it's Areog, he said looking at how the demon was fighting some demons in a ring. Areog. Come on, that's all they have, he said sending several demons flying. Uo. Issei, hello, do you want to participate? Issei. What the hell is this? Areog. Let's say that at some parties I do some fighting, whoever can hit me will receive a reward. Serafal. And that's it. Sariag. I bet a VIP room, so what do you say? Issei. I already have one, no thanks he said simply. Sariag. Well it's okay, I understand you, now that you are a child you surely have less power, and it surely scares you, he said without measuring his words. At that moment, Issei heard Sariag's words, a vein appeared on his forehead, and he smiled in a macabre way. Issei. Thinking about it. Time skip. An Issei can be seen in the ring looking at Sariag. Sariag. Are you sure about this? Issei. How curious, I was going to ask you the same thing he said with a smile. Sariag. Well we see what you can do my rival he said with a smile. At that moment Issei only smiled in an evil way while his pupils became slanted. Issei disappeared in the blink of an eye while suddenly appearing next to Sariag. Sariag just looked surprised as Issei appeared in a burst of speed next to him. Issei hit him in the face, sending him flying a few meters to the bottom of the sea. Issei. Idiot he said with a smile as he watched Sariag floating in the sea. All the spectators were totally amazed by Issei's monster strength while trembling in fear. Serafal. Wow Ice Tan is very strong he said, amazed by the strength of the little Issei. Time skip. As Sariag could be seen waking up while when he opened his eyes he saw a head of brown hair, and when he looked up he saw a certain brunette looking at him in a motherly way. Visara. You finally wake up Syracun, I thought Issei had killed you with that blow he said looking at the demon. The Baal was only surprised, but then blushed as he looked at the woman's motherly gaze. Sariag. Haha, it's nothing, I have a hard head he said a little blushing. Visara. You should be a little more careful, Issei-chan, you don't control your strength much since you're a child again he said, looking at an Issei who was looking at Sariag with a mocking smile. Issei. A deal is a deal, give me the room he said looking at the demon. Baal. Yes it's okay he said giving the room key to Issei. Visara. How bad your Issei-chan is your friend, don't be mean to him he said looking at Sariag with some pity. Issei. Yes, of course, here he said, giving the key to the brunette. Visara. What? Issei. I already have one, so I'll give you this, enjoy it I guess he said giving him the key. The brunette just hugged his son tightly while he was happy for his lovely gift. Visara. Gigi, you are the best son ever he said hugging Issei. Issei. Oka-san, you embarrass me he said somewhat blushing at his mother's attitude. Serafal. Gigi, Ice Tan is cute when he's embarrassed he said looking at Issei. Issei. Shut up, Brad. Well why don't we go see the Kisara room? He said to the chestnut. Visara. Sure Red-kun he said happily. Both adults just left while Sariag was completely hypnotized by the brunette's beautiful attitude. Sariag. Hey Issei gaining the albino's attention she is your mother, right? Issei. Yes, why? Sariag. Do you mind if he asked her out? Issei. What she is my mother, idiot, are you crazy or do you want me to kill you? Sariag. Come on, we're friends and rivals, it's nothing. Issei. Yes, we are rivals and all, but that doesn't mean you can ask my idiot mother on a date. Sariag. Please he said bowing to Issei. Issei. You want me to hit you right? Sariag did not answer and continued bowing in front of Issei. Issei. Sai do whatever you want, but I doubt you'll get anything, idiot bye bye he said to leave. Sariag upon hearing that just smiled to run for the older chestnut. Issei had fun with Serafal all day in different things, but at a table there was an Azazel drinking while in the background, you could see the girls competing in a kind of treasure hunt. Issei. Hello Azazel he said arriving with Serafal. Azazel. Hello Hip Chico your girls have been competing for a few hours now to spend a night with you. Hip hehehe said drunk. Issei. Azazel, are you drunk? He said looking at the crow. Azazel. No he well just a little, I'm starting to see Gasper as a real girl he said, looking at Gasper eating ice cream with Kiba and you. Issei. Okay, it's better that I take you to your room he said, starting to carry Azazel like a sack of potatoes to his room. Time skip. An Issei can be seen leaving Azazel in his room while Serafal took a photo of him while he sucked his thumb like a baby. Serafal. She's going for the album he said with a smile. Issei. Good night Azazel he said leaving the curved man alone sleeping in the room. Azazel. He laughed while it was obvious that he dreamed about women. Issei just sighed to start walking to his room with Serafal. Serafal. What? Don't you want to go to the beach anymore? Issei. I've had enough of the beach and sun for one day he said tiredly. The boy alone went to his room while Serafal followed him with a smile. Serafal. Then let's play video games. Issei upon entering her room just looked at how she was all messy while there was a note on her bed. Note, office. Issei I borrowed some of your clothes to do something important, I hope you don't mind and I'm sorry for the mess. End note. Issei. Why the hell do they want my clothes? In another side, you can see all the girls fighting over some Issei boxers. Rias. Give it to me, the damn dragon is mine. Office. Not even in my dreams was I the one who looked for it and found it in the treasure hunt, now leave it. With Issei. Issei. Now my room is a garbage dump, she said, something irritated. Serafal. And how about we go to mine just to continue having fun? Don't get any weird ideas, she said, blushing. Issei. Yes, it's okay, let's go, she said simply, but Serafal, when hearing what she said, she just smiled. Time skip. Both boys were in the black-haired girl's room, and after playing for a while they were lying on the bed laughing. Serafal. Ha 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 ha, yes, Surzich's idiot insulting several faction elders was very funny, he said happily. Issei. Well, I guess that was my fault too, she said with a smile. They were both still chatting, but at that moment Serafal changed to a somewhat nervous and blushing face. Serafal. Hey, I stan. Issei. Yes. Serafal. What do you think, me? She said, something nervous. Issei. Well, you are a pretty girl, although you are a man, you don't look like it, you are more relaxed and childish, and I like that a little. Why? Serafal. But as a woman, what do I look like to you? As a woman, am I pretty? She said, blushing. Issei. Well, yes, you are very pretty. I even know that you have many suitors. I don't know any boy who doesn't want to be with you, she said, looking at Serafal, totally blushing. Why? Serafal. Well, tell us that, I like someone, said, blushing. Issei. Well, I can only support you and tell you that I'm sure he will reciprocate. After all, I don't think they would reject a pretty girl like you, she said with a cute show to smile. Serafal, seeing Issei's smile, could only smile while a runny nose adorned her face. Serafal. It's beautiful, she said, looking at Issei's smile. Serafal quickly wiped the blood from her nose as he lunged at Issei. Serafal. Well, now I want you to listen to me, he said, looking at Issei, blushing. I love you, Issei. At that moment Issei didn't know what to say, but she couldn't say anything either since Serafal kissed him. Issei could only return the kiss while her tongues joined together and danced in a kiss full of love. Issei. Wait, she said, separating Serafal. I'm not good for you, in fact I go out with your sister, remember, I don't think I can go out with you, she said timidly, while her shirt was unbuttoned. Serafal, seeing how cute Issei looked, could only let out more blood from her nose. Serafal. Beautiful, she said while wiping the blood from her nose. I already know that, but I don't care, Issei, I like you. Seeing Serafal's face, Issei could only look at her seriously and rejoin her lips, corresponding the black-haired girl's feelings. Issei. So even if I'm a simple idiot, I will try to make you the happiest woman in the world, she said to kiss again. Serafal just let out a few happy tears upon hearing Issei's nice words. They both hugged each other while kissing, and little by little each of their clothes were removed from their bodies until they were completely naked. Lemon skip, please read it on website. Serafal at that moment saw Issei's eyes, and they had slanted pupils as she looked at Serafal in a predatory manner. Issei. Serah-chan, did you really think this is over? No, this is not over yet, we will have a lot of fun, she said with a somewhat evil smile. Time skip. Sona's entourage can be seen with her king walking through the corridors of the hotel to go to her room. Sona. Damn, we lost, she said, something angry. Tsubaki. I still think they cheated, she said, a little frustrated at having lost to the other girls. Sona and her entourage only went to her room, but at that moment when they opened the door, they only saw how an Issei was writing and giving strong attacks to Serafal. Sona. Issei-kun. Serafal, seeing her sister going, she only said a few words while she was still at the peak of her ecstasy. Serafal. Run. Sona didn't wait and just turned around to escape, but at that moment some chains trapped each of them so that Issei could see her with a smile. Issei. Don't worry, when I'm done with Serah-chan I'll go with you, she said with an evil smile. During the entire day in that room only moans, claps and many loud sounds were heard. Heart 40 contested. You can see and hear how an albino Shota was in a hotel room, but the boy was forcefully attacking the privacy of a certain black-haired president of the student council, while his entire entourage and sister were completely passed out while a white liquid came out of their intimacies. Sona. Issei, stop, you're going to break up, she said between moans. The young albino just continued doing his thing, already totally lost in pleasure, moving only because of his dragon instincts. Time skip. You can see the albino leave the room a little more relaxed while he let the girls rest from their long fun. Issei only had a mocking smile as he walked out of the hotel to return to the beach before his girls missed him or simply caused a stir with the delinquent Rias. When Issei left the hotel he only saw a large crowd shouting while they asked that they start now. Azazel. Issei, I finally found you, come quickly, said to bring Issei to the crowd. Issei was only dragged by the curve and took him to some seats where Surziches and Red were sitting. Issei. Surziches. Grid. What's going on here? He said, looking at both. Red. Apparently your girls had a competition, so we will be the judges, he said simply. Surziches. They only chose me because I can't lie, he said something discouragingly. Issei. And what exactly? Surziches. One of the swimsuits, he said seriously, still looking at nothing. At that moment some red lights came out of the small stage, and when the curtain opened, it showed an Azazel with a microphone. Azazel. Ladies, demons and yakes, we are here today to watch the most majestic Balo suit competition ever. Everyone. Yes, they screamed when they heard that. Azazel. Today we are going to see the most exotic flora of all posing to win this swimsuit contest, so say hello also to the judges of this occasion, one of the greatest mass in history, Sirzich's Lucifer he said, showing Sirzich's with a spotlight, while the Redeed waved somewhat cheerfully. Issei. You always like the spotlight to be on you he said looking at Sirzich's. Sirzich's. It's a bad habit that I earned from my years as a Mayu he said looking at Issei. Azazel. The strongest dragon king of all and on this occasion one of the judges, Great Red he said, showing the red-haired man. Red. Haha, I hope to see a good contest he said with a smile. Azazel. And one of the greatest warriors of this generation and to the dissipation of many here, the one responsible for most of these girls losing their virginity by himself, the king of the harem, Issei hyoudou, he said showing Issei. Issei. This still seems ridiculous to me he said simply. Red. They're not your wives, why aren't you happy? Issei. I've already seen them naked many times, this won't cause me anything he said simply. Azazel. Well then let's start. Saying that the curtain opened to show Asia in a very nice swimsuit. All the men, upon seeing Asia, only praised the blonde while she was somewhat embarrassed, which made her look more beautiful to the public. Azazel. A very good start and tell me what you will do with the winner's prize. She said looking at him. Asia. T have a cure with the boy I like and T maybe have some time alone with him she said blushing, but with a look and a silly smile, while she looked at the little Issei. Azazel. Good, and now it's time for the judges to give their verdict on him. Sirzich's. 8. Network. 9. Issei. 10. Azazel. Look at that, a magnificent score well thank you very much for participating. After that, each of the girls passed while they were given a score. Auden. Jojo, I knew that beneath that armor a very beautiful girl was hiding he said, looking proudly at Roswas. Issei. Auden. Did you come too? Auden. Haha, of course I wouldn't miss this for nothing, besides he said looking at some women in the crowd who were watching the other girls participate, I can see many pretty girls, she said with a perverted smile. Issei. By the way, who came up with this? Sirzich's. She was Sona's mother, although she was surprised that she is not going to participate. Where is she? Issei. She is in her room very tired, apparently she had a big problem to attend to she said with a somewhat mocking smile. Azazel. Well judges. Sirzich's. 9. Network. 8. Issei. 10. Little by little each boy passed by and the spectators only saw each girl with blushes and nosebleeds. Akeno. Fufufu hello Ice-kun, when I won, you will be all mine tonight, she said with a blush and a perverted look. Sirzich's. 8. Network. 7. Issei. Sai 10. Sirzich's. Why do you always give full marks? Issei. They are my girlfriends, remember? Sirzich's. Yes, sorry, I understood she said with a drop of sweat on the back of her neck. Azazel. Apparently they inform me that there will be a joint presentation. At that moment an office in Kuroka and swimsuits came out from the curtain and gave a big nasal discharge to all the spectators. Milikas. Hello Issei Onasama he said, drawing Issei's attention haha, apparently your girlfriends are very hexy she said while having a nosebleed. Issei. You know. Now I'm basically your age and I can hit you very easily, so control your comments he said, looking at the boy who was quickly bleeding at Issei's statement. Azazel. This gentleman is beautiful well judges. Network. 10 for the union of each one. Sirzich's. 9. Issei. 10. Both girls just smiled as they had a perverted smile on the little Issei before leaving. The girls quickly passed by wearing their swimsuits, while the boys were already losing a lot of blood from the large nasal discharges that the girls' beautiful bodies caused them. Became. Network. 10. Sirzich's. 7. Issei. 10. Sarah. Network. 7. Sirzich's. 8. Issei. 10. Bizarra. Network. 10. Sirzich's. 9. Issei. 10. Zenobia. Network. 8. Sirzich's. 9. Issei. 10. Arena. Network. 9. Sirzich's. 9. Issei. 10. Yui. Network. 10. Sirzich's. 8. Issei. 10. Lin. Network. 10. Sirzich's. 8. Issei. 10. Valerie. Network. 9. Sirzich's. 10. Issei. Isn't that your underwear? Valerie. I didn't find my swimsuit, so I improvised she said a little blushing, while a certain delinquent laughed at her silently. Issei. 10. Azazel. Good now the man couldn't finish as one of the girls was kicked away while she was covering herself with a blanket. All the people were a little curious, but the blanket was quickly blown away by the wind and everyone just looked at a Rainer with a kind of semi-destroyed swimsuit. Rainer. Don't look at me, this is embarrassing she said timidly as she covered herself. Behind the scenes. Riaz. Let's see what people think of this. She said as she looked at how Rainer was blushing covering her body. Everyone. Yes Riaz. But what? With Issei, all the people praised the fallen one while she only blushed more. Issei. Rainer, what happened to your swimsuit? Rainer. The delinquent Ria's half destroyed it to make them give me a lower score, she said. She was still shy and blushing. Ria's behind the curtain was only cursing herself for what she did, since rather, she helped the girl earn a good score. Network. Hahaha, 10. Surziches. 10. Issei. 10. Azazel. A perfect score. Let's see if the other girls can equal or maybe beat this score. Tiamat. Network. 9. Surziches. 8. Issei. 10. At one point the curtain opened showing a cute albino loli in a cute swimsuit while she was blushing. Hineko. D, don't look at me with those eyes, she said while she was squatting and looking at Issei blushing, while her cat ears and tail made her cuter. All the men just screamed with excitement at the cute demonstration of a distressed loli that the Nekanata made. Network. 10. Surziches. 10. Issei. He. 10. Azazel. Wow, it looks like the other girls are going to have it complicated. Issei's other girls started to model their swimsuits, but what made Issei a little nervous was how the delinquent Rias could dress, since she could do anything crazy for a night with him, and even more so if a girl tried to keep him away from her. Azazel. Well, now comes the last contestant of this day. Give a big applause to the Mayu's little delinquent sister Ria's Gremory. When the curtain opened everyone was speechless, not because they were seeing Ria's, but because now she was modeling a kind of very revealing swimsuit. This was a one-piece swimsuit that only covered her privacy along with her nipples, leaving almost nothing to the imagination. Ria's. Azazel. I think today Cupid is working more than normal, since the majority here just fell totally in love with this beautiful criminal. Issei. Ria's, what are you wearing? He said looking at how the Retit approached Issei. Ria's. Just a small bikini, it's nothing, she said modeling, letting everyone see how her breasts bounced. Surziches. 100. Network. 100. Issei. Sahi, I guess 10, she said with a smile. Azazel. Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of this competition is nothing more and nothing less than the great Ria's Gremory. Ria's, upon hearing that, just threw herself at Issei, kissing him while she caressed her small body. Ria's. You know what that means, right? She said with a flirtatious look. Issei. Yes, but still, it seems that there are some who do not agree that you have won, she said, looking at all the other Issei girls with a purple aura looking at Ria's. Asia. But it's not fair, you cheated, she said with a pout. Bekeno. Ara, Ria's is a cheater, maybe we have to punish her, so she learns not to cheat or sabotage her classmates, she said, taking out some rays from her hands. Yui. That prize should have been ours. Lin. We must have that night with Master. Ria's. Those who lost have nothing to say before me, since I won fairly, he said with an arrogant smile. Rainer. You destroyed my suit. Ria's. Small details, but that doesn't matter, she said, kissing Issei's neck. Tonight ice is all mine. The girls didn't see that right, so they took Ria's from her arms and separated her from Issei. Issei just looked at that with a bead of sweat on the back of his neck while the girls started to fight. At one point Ria's let out a sphere of destruction, and it only had an impact on Issei, sending him flying a few meters. Everyone at that moment turned pale, but Issei only came out of the smoke while he put on a sadistic and evil smile. Issei. So you want to have a night with me? Well then, she said, raising her head showing her slitted pupils. Now they will come with me. All the girls were attracted by chains while they were dragged by Issei towards the hotel. Lin. Master, it was just a joke, sorry. Bekeno. Ice-kun, please, forgive us. Issei. Don't worry, I won't do anything to you, I'll just show you why Sona and her entourage with Serafol didn't compete. Issei only quickly took the girls to the same room where the fainted Sona was with her entourage, and in all that was left of day and night in that room, only moans could be heard while the girls asked for mercy. Hella. Shit, I couldn't go with them, she said frustrated. Office. Yes. Valerie. It doesn't matter that I seduce him another day, since I wanted to do it with the adult Issei, he said she while taking a photo that showed Issei's abdomen. Hiroka and Faye. It's bad Issei-kun didn't invite us, they said, something angry. On another side, you could see some hooded men with black raincoats standing in a circle covered in blood. One of them just passed by and went to their leader, who was making a kind of ritual with alchemy. Extra. Sir, I have news for you. Apparently one of our searchers found a very powerful ritual, he said, taking out a leaf and giving it to the man. Apparently the mass next to him, the Norse god Odin, wanted to destroy him, but a leaf was on the ground under a meeting. It is hidden, it is somewhat burned, but can be read and used clearly. The man just smiled evilly as he saw the blade. Well done, it seems we have something good on our hands, he said looking at the paper. Part 41 Magic and Vampires. After the big party on the beach that the factions had and the big orgy that the little Issei had with the girls, and Issei can be seen already at his normal age training with Gasper. Issei. Well done, Gasper, you now control your vampire power a little more, he said looking at the boy. Gasper. Yes, but it's still very exhausting, he said, panting, tired from the training. Issei. Well, without sweat and effort there is no victory, he said smiling. Gasper and Issei began training so that Gasper could be strong like Issei and Red had taught him, and by now they had a lot of progress. Issei's other companions were also training, but not as much as Issei and Gasper at the moment. Rias. How long have they been? He said looking at both of them in their normal state. Bekeno. They've been at it for about 5 hours. For now Gasper just gives them small illusions, like making them look like bats and other things, he said, looking at the little vampire. Bizarra. Do you think he can do the same thing he did when he fought George? Rias. Maybe, but for now he has the seals on his body because of the bishop piece on his body, so unless he breaks the seal, I'm not sure, he said looking at Gasper. Issei. Well, rest for now, I think that was enough training, he said, letting the young vampire rest. Hiba. Issei, how strong is Gasper? He said curiously. Issei. Hahaha, well why don't you find out yourself, he said looking at Kiba. I'm Skip. Hiba can be seen looking at Gasper as they were both about to fight. Hiba. I don't think this is a good idea, he said something uneasy since he didn't want to hurt Gasper. Red. Don't be a sissy and fight, he said while watching the fight. Hiba only pulled out a sword while Issei had a smile as he looked at Gasper. Rias. Ice Gasper won't be able to against Kiba, much less with a limiter of the bishop piece in his body, he said looking at Issei. Issei. Ah yes, well I removed the Bobo stamp a long time ago, he said looking at the girl. Rias. Waddy. Bekeno. Ara said looking at Issei. Issei. Well, that limiting Bobo was annoying us in our training, so with my flames, I destroyed the limitation seal without removing the piece, she said simply. Rias. So all this time Gasper has been without. Issei. No limiter, he said smiling. Hiba was just a little nervous about what he might happen in combat, but he just tried to calm down and looked seriously at Gasper. Kiba took a step, but at that moment Gasper's eyes lit up and in a blink he appeared behind Kiba while he put a knife to his neck. Kiba was shocked, he didn't know that Gasper had improved so much that Kiba couldn't overcome his magic. Issei. Hahaha, well done Gasper, you can calm down now, he said, making Gasper stop pressing his knife against Kiba's neck. Rias. Where did I get that knife? Gasper. Issei-senpai gave it to me, he said, showing a black dagger that you could tell was very sharp. Rias. Ice, why do you give Gasper weapons, he said looking at Issei somewhat annoyed. You are turning him into a weapon to kill. Issei. No, he is already a weapon to kill, I just help him use that talent in a good way, he said while caressing the vampire's head. Bizarra. And that's it. Issei. Protect those he loves, he said with a smile. Gasper. Yes, Issei-senpai taught me to control my powers better so I could protect Butchu and the others, he said determined in his words. The boys just stayed silent, already knowing Gasper's motivation to become strong, they could only rejoice while they saw Issei congratulating Gasper for defeating Kiba. Red. Hahaha, well I support you Chico, he said raising his thumb in approval. Issei and Gasper just smiled while Kiba was on the ground with a depressing aura for losing to Gasper. Time skip next day. You can see the boys in the occult club. Riaz was explaining to the boys about contracts with magicians, explaining the way they are carried out and their purpose since they gained popularity since the war in the underworld. Issei was just sleeping while the girls and boys were paying attention to Riaz since they were the ones who were going to have to make the contracts, but at that moment a magic circle appeared to show a man in a white suit. Kiba. The demon Mephistopheles, he said looking at the man. Issei was only woken up by Kiba's scream and looked at a blue-haired man along with a white suit and a top hat. Issei. Okay, who is this? He said looking at the man. Riaz. Lord Mephistopheles, what are you doing here? He said looking at the man. Issei. Wait, this is Mephistopheles. He said looking at the man. It shows that you have style, he said looking at the man's suit. Mephisto. It's also a pleasure to meet my future king, my name is Mephistopheles, it's a pleasure Issei hyoudou, he said looking at the boy while he shook his hand. You. Issei became friends with one of the most respected demons in everyone in seconds, he said, looking at both of them talking. Kiba. That's our Issei I guess, he said looking at both of them. Issei. Hey Mephisto, tell me, can you turn me into an exorcist? He said looking at the man. Mephisto. Hahaha, don't think I didn't understand the reference Chico, hahaha, I'm sorry, but I'm not that Mephisto, I'm just here to give you this, he said, making a letter appear. Riaz just took Mephisto's face and read it out loud. Riaz. According to reports, it seems that Phoenix tears have begun to be sold in the underworld. These guys have also allied themselves with Chaos Brigade for dark reasons, along with some magicians. Mephisto. That's right, so since you have a phoenix, Surziches sent me to tell you, he said while Ravel held Issei's arm, a little scared. Issei. Don't be afraid Ravel, if one of those idiots comes for you I'll just kill him, you don't have to be afraid, he said, caressing the girl's head, calming her down a little. Mephisto. The Phoenix family and others have also been notified, so be careful, well I'm leaving, it's a pleasure to meet you in person Chico, he said looking at Issei. Issei. Likewise, Mephisto, goodbye, she said to see the demon disappear in a magic circle. Riaz. Well, everyone will take a piece of paper, and the girl couldn't finish since Issei was walking at the exit of the place. Issei, where are you going? Issei. Well then I'll just let them work, I said, opening the door slowly. I might go with Sona or just go sleep under a tree, he said. Well, he had already crossed the door and closed the door slowly. Goodbye, I love you, said to leave the club. Riaz. Ice. Bizarre. He always avoids responsibilities and work, she said, looking at his brother leaving. At that moment a magic circle appeared and Azazel came out of it. Aki. Azazel-sensei, she said, seeing how the fallen one was tired. Azazel. Don't talk to me or say anything to me, I'm not in the mood, he said, so he could lie down on the couch there. Giba. What happened to Azazel-sensei? This. You. Shit, she said directly. Azazel. Sigh, I was preparing the silly meeting we are going to have with the vampires, he said tiredly. Those bastards are very arrogant, no offense Gasper, you are great, it's just that they can't say a sentence without mentioning that their teeth are brighter than pearls, or that they are excellent warriors, he said tiredly. Riaz. True, I forgot to tell Ice. Well, we'll tell him later, he said, so that each of the boys would be a contract with Issei. Issei was just walking calmly, but at that moment he was grabbed by his shirt and taken to the girls' bathroom. Issei was only sat on one of the toilets while he was locked in a cubicle by two familiar girls. Hadis. Hello Ice-kun, you know, we miss you a lot, I hadn't seen you all summer, he said while looking at the boy in a predatory way. Kiryu. That's right, but now, we can enjoy everything we want, he said as he began to kiss Issei's neck while Cadis took off his pants. Issei. Girls, stop, this is not a good place, she said as she began to get excited when she felt Cadis's licks. Kiryu. No, Issei-kun, we will take you here, and now, I said while they both looked at Issei with heart-shaped eyes. Cadis. For a long time now I have only been able to masturbate to calm myself down and not go to your house and gape you, but now that I have you so close I can't contain myself. Ice-kun, I want you to be the father of my children, he said while he kissed Issei with lust and love. Both. Issei-kun, Ice-kun. Time skip. You can see an Issei coming out of the bathroom with a monotonous but somewhat relaxed face while behind him came Cadis and Kiryu, who were limping a little but had a beautiful smile. Kiryu. Goodbye, Ice-kun, see you later, he said while he was kissed passionately by Kiryu. Cadis. Goodbye Issei-kun, I hope we repeat this, he said while giving him a kiss with some lust. Damn, I don't think I can be separated from you for long, he said while leaving with Kiryu. Issei just sighed to go somewhere else and relax after the fun of him. Issei only walked until he reached the student council, and when he arrived he did not see anyone. The boy did not care, but when he sat in Sona's seat, he was only tied and held by a somewhat complex mechanism. Issei. What the hell, he said while he was tied hands and feet by the strange security system. At that moment all the girls came out of their hiding places who had a perverted and predatory look on their faces. Sona. Wow, Issei-kun is trapped, it would be a shame if someone abused him, he said while he licked his lips. Issei. Not again, let me go, she said while trying to free herself. At that moment Yui and Lin took their human forms to defend their master, but Sona only convinced them both to join them with the excuse of having a better chance of getting pregnant with Issei. Yui. I'm sorry, master, but the temptation is very strong, he said while kissing his master. Issei. They are traitors, he said as he tried to break free. Sona. Don't worry, this will be quick and very pleasant, so don't try to escape and accept your fate, my cute Issei-kun, he said while putting Issei on the sofa in the room. Time skip. Issei only left the room tired, leaving all the girls fainted after their fun. Issei. Damn, they are nymphomaniacs now, he said as he left the place. Time skip. Issei can now be seen in the famous Akubi bar, as this was the only place where girls would never look for him. Issei. Damn, he said while taking a drink, they're really going to kill me if I continue like this, he said tiredly. Yuki. Hello again Issei-sama, he really came, he said happy to see the boy again. Issei. This is a quiet and pleasant place. I really like it when your mother and friends are not trying to eat, he said looking at the girl with a smile. By the way, you also work here, right? Yuki. Yes, sitting next to the boy, I work as a waitress since I don't like the other job my mother does, she said something blushing when mentioning the other thing her mother did. Issei. But you seem normal, in fact you seem more human than a succubus, he said looking at the boy. Yuki. My father was human, he and my mother fell in love, but when he dies, as you must already know, we have to look for something to feed ourselves, so my mother, along with some of her friends and Succubi widows, made this bar, he said, looking at the place. Issei. Haha, she sounds like a good mother, although I guess she doesn't let you do that things right. Yuki. No, quite the opposite, she said that I'm already at that age, and that I should be looking for at least a boyfriend and so on, but I really haven't found the right person, she said somewhat dejectedly. Issei. But you don't need men's semen to survive or something, she said thinking while looking at the girl. Yuki. Why yes, but my human side doesn't need that, I just eat normal food and rest like anyone else, although according to Oka-san, it is less effective since according to her she says that our succubus side would recover faster if I consume, you know, she said sadly. Issei. And why don't you do it? From what you tell me, your mother has no problem with you bringing any guy. Yuki. Well, I made a promise to my father before he died, she said, nostalgically remembering her father's words. Along with his promise, he said, don't give your first time to any idiot, only have sex with the person you really want. Since then I have saved my purity for the person I truly loved and wanted me to have my first time, she said, somewhat embarrassed. Issei. Ha, your father does sound like a real father, haha, well if it were him I would do the same, so I don't blame him, haha, well I hope you get that person who you are going to love forever, he said, looking with a nice smile to the girl. The black-haired girl just blushed and smiled while she played with her fingers. Yuki. Edo-see, can I ask you something, Issei-sama, she said, something embarrassed and blushing. Issei. Of course it is. Yuki. Well, I don't have experience with boys, and well I would like you to help me with that, see with a date, she said, somewhat embarrassed. Issei. A date? Haha, of course, when will it be? Yuki. How was Saturday? Issei. Sounds good to me, I'm looking forward to our date, Yu-chan, she said happily. Yuki. Why Yu-chan, she said, all blushing because of the nickname Issei gave her. Issei. Well, it's better than Yuki since you're a girl, and let's say that because of a series I watched, it gives me some anxiety to just say Yuki, he said, thinking of a certain pink-haired yandere with a desire to say Yuki and kill those who get in his way. In the middle. Yuki. Well, whatever you like, Issei-sama, she said, embarrassed and blushing. Issei. But it won't be fair if you called me Issei-sama, so just call me Issei or give me a nickname like I did, I said, looking at the girl. Yuki. You nickname Edo, I know, how about Ikun, said happily, it sounds nice, said, looking happy at Issei. Issei. Okay, I'll be Ikun, and I don't know if you've noticed, but now you just spoke without being ashamed or afraid, he said, while the girl, noticing what she did, was embarrassed again. Well, step by step. Issei and Yuki just talked and chatted calmly as time passed. Issei, seeing that it was dark, she just said goodbye and gave the succubus a kiss on the forehead and then returned home. Elizabeth. It seems like you get along well with him, said Penindus next to her daughter. Don't tell me you're in love with him, she said with some curiosity. Yuki. And no, he and I could never. Elizabeth. Sigh, just like your father, haha, my beautiful shy daughter, she said to take her daughter inside the premises. I'm skip mansion every CSA. The boy only opened the door to see how his girls were upset. Issei. Hello girls, what's going on? Rias. Nothing, we just had a terrible day at work, she said. She was upset while she was burning the contracts in a fireplace. Akeno. Yes, most of the magicians who help us were simple idiots who wanted to destroy towns or were some kind of pervert, she said, somewhat annoyed. Issei. He said as he began to massage and care for the girls with love and tenderness, how about I help you relax? All. Hi, they said happily. Art 42. The Night Lords. The Grimoire entourage could be seen preparing for their meeting with the vampires, while Issei just watched them monotonously. Issei. You really don't want me to go? She said, looking at the girls. Rias. Don't worry, Ice, it's not necessary, someone else has to take care of Office and the others, she said, looking at Kuroka and Faye, who were fighting with Office for sweets. Issei. I guess you're right, but will Gasper be okay? She said, seeing the little vampire somewhat nervous. Akeno. Ice-kun cares about Kohai about him, he said, looking at Issei. Gasper. I'll be fine, he said a little nervously. Issei. Remember that if someone tries to touch you or bothers you because of how you dress, just. Gasper. I have to cut his neck and make his head roll on the ground. Yes, I know, he said, looking at Issei. You. Don't you think you teach Gasper bad things? He said, looking at his brother. Issei. No, he said simply. Rias. Well, we're leaving, goodbye, I said, kissing and saying goodbye to Issei. All the girls just kissed Issei before leaving. Issei just sighed as he watched her girls leave and then looked at Office, who was eating sweets with Lin while she was on top of a girl hitting Kuroka and Faye. Issei. This will be complicated, he said, looking at the girls. Yui. And then what do we do, master? He said, looking at Issei. Issei. Girls, he said, drawing everyone's attention, we're going out for a walk, so get ready. All. Hi, Red. Haha, well I guess we'll take care of the house, he said while Kisara stood next to him. Kisara. Don't worry about us, have fun, he said with a smile. Issei. By the way, where are Valerie, Biku and Arthur? He said, looking for the three missing members of the ex-Cows Brigade team. Office. They said they will be helping Surziches by acting as a bodyguard, she said simply. Issei. Sigh, okay, then let's go. Elsewhere with the Grimoire entourage, you can see the boys arriving at the place. It was night and the boys had to go to the VIP room where they would have the meeting. When they arrived, they were only received by Sona and her entourage. Sona. Hello, Riaz said, looking at the girl. Riaz. Sona, how are you? He said, hugging the girl. Sona. Sigh, I've been better, I really need a night's rest, she said, somewhat overwhelmed by his duties as leader of the council, plus his duties as Leviathan. By the way, where is Issei-kun? He said, looking for the albino. Riaz. She stayed to take care of Tiamat and the others, they are probably having a date now she said with some jealousy, since she also wanted to have a date with her albino. Sona. What a shame, I wanted to thank you for helping me distress the other day she said with a slight blush. Akeno. Ara, you don't want to give him something else, right? He said looking at the girl. Sona. I don't know what you're talking about. She said, looking away. Sona's entire entourage just blushed while she thought about Issei since the last time they saw each other was when they gagged Issei and gaped him, and they wanted to apologize for that and give him a small reward as they called it. But Issei can be seen walking through the Kuo streets with the girls. They only walked until they reached an ice cream stand where Issei bought one for each of the girls. Rainer. It's delicious she said happily while eating his ice cream. Tiamat. I see why Yui and Lin like ice cream so much she said while eating they are exquisite he said happily. Hiroka. And now what will we do? The office. I wanted to go to the paradise of games he said looking at Issei as he raised his hand. The Fae. I want to go see a movie. Issei. Calm down we'll go, just little by little she said with a smile. Tiamat. You know, you look very handsome when you smile like that he said she while licking her lips, it makes me want to gape you, he said she while hugging Issei. Issei. Yes of course she said separating. The office. Hey leave Issei alone, he's mine now he said as she grabbed Tiamat by her leg and dragged her away from Issei. Tiamat. Wow, it seems that someone else is interested in Issei-sama he said while Office, listening to what he said, only blushed. Office, don't get me wrong, he is mine in the sense that he will now take me to the paradise of games he said, trying to make an excuse. Issei. Yeah, okay, just calm down he said trying to calm the girls down. With Riaz and the others, the boys continued talking, but at that moment Zenobia saw someone who made her tremble with fear. Zenobia. And no PC could it be she said trembling. Irina. What's wrong Zenobia she said looking at her friend. Zenobia. As she is she said seeing a very beautiful and voluptuous woman while she was wearing a nun's outfit. Irina. She is my boss, she is. Azazel. She is the queen of the angel Gabriel and one of the 5 best exotics, Griselda Corda said, showing the beautiful woman. Griselda. Thank you for the introduction Azazel, you are still just as handsome and kind she said, making the fallen man blush a little. Nice to meet you hell my name as you already heard is Griselda Corda nice to meet you, she said with a charming smile. Zenobia just hid behind Irina in fear and when Griselda saw her, her gaze only changed to a sharper and colder one, but still with a beautiful smile. Griselda. A smile but tell me what motivated you to do that? She said, looking at something chilling at the blue-haired girl. Zenobia. Edo. Griselda. You haven't answered my calls either it even had me very worried. They have also told me that you have fought against very powerful beings alongside the Sekiryuite and a boy called the Shinigami she said looking at Zenobia. Zenobia. WW well Issei-kun is. Griselda. Ara, don't tell me you turned into a demon for a boy she said as she squeezed her cheeks hard. Zenobia. Griselda senpai pities me she said trying to break free from the woman's grip. The woman kept squeezing the blue-haired girl's cheeks hard to make her confess, but at that moment Azazel called everyone's attention by saying that the vampires were already coming. Azazel. They're here, get ready. All. Hi. Hiba and Yu just stood at the doors ready to open them, while the others just sat at the huge table where the meeting would take place. Asia. I wonder if vampires are like in the movie she said, imagining some kind of Count Dracula with a black cape. Riaz. Not entirely, some things are just fiction, but one of the real things is, for example, not being able to enter from one place to another without being invited to pass. Hineko. Being a vampire seems to be complicated she said looking at Riaz. Akeno. Yes, but the thousands of centuries you can live make up for it he said, thinking about how young he would look if he were a vampire. The boys were just waiting for the vampire's appreciation, and when Yu and Kiba opened the door, they only saw a beautiful girl with porcelain skin, red eyes and pointed ears. Nice to meet you, it is a pleasure to see the representatives of the 3 factions, it is also an honor to meet the Sisters of the Mass and the former governor of the Fallen. I am Elmenhold Karnstein she said bowing please call me Elman yes they like. Azazel. It's a pleasure Karnstein, if I'm right you are at the top of the Carmilla factions, it's been a long time since I've spoken to a pureblood vampire she said looking at the girl. Elman. It's also a pleasure, but she said, looking at the fact that a certain white-haired man was missing where is the one they call the Shinigami? She said curiously he is the successor of the god of the Bible and the king of demons, shouldn't he be here? Riaz. He's busy said thinking of Issei. VAMPIRO1. How disrespectful that he won't show up he said somewhat irritated. VAMPIRO2. He's probably just an irresponsible boy. The vampires only murmured while the boys only regretted not having brought Issei. With Issei, you can see a happy Office while in her hand there is a kind of sword that lights up. Office. This is the best prize he said slashing the toy sword into the air. Issei. It's good that you liked it, the truth is that it also seemed like the best prize to me he said, looking happily at the dragon. Hella. It's not fair, because she has the sword and I don't, he said with a cute pout. Office. The deal was that whoever won the most tickets got the sword, and I won more than all of you, he said with a mocking smile. Hiroka. Well, I'm happy with what I won, she said, hugging a small stuffed animal that looked very similar to Issei. The Fae. And I won a magic wand, she said waving her wand. Issei. Oh wait, I have to feed Fafnir, he said as she went to a store and bought some roast beef. The boys only went to a park which fortunately was without people, so Issei summoned little Fafnir and began to devour the roast meat. Fafnir. Haha, I don't dislike this treat at all, he said eating the meat. Tiamat. Wow, the great Fafnir acts like a pet, said she with some mockery. Fafnir. Shut up, stupid dragon, he said looking at Tiamat. Tiamat. How did you call me an idiot? Fafnir. Are you deaf, stupid dragon? Both dragons just looked at death, while Issei just calmed them both down so they wouldn't start fighting. Issei. Sigh, I wonder how the girls are doing. With Riaz and the others, you can see the vampires retreating while the others analyze the information that the little vampire told them. Azazel. So the vampires have internal conflicts and they just want to borrow Gasper, they are desperate, she said sighing. Riaz. Yes, but I won't allow them to take Gasper away from us, much less after how they treated him before, so we'll have to take care of this, he said it would be. Azazel. Good, but I think we should put this on the back burner, after all the Teeps faction has the Sephiroth Grail, that makes them dangerous, he said seriously. Riaz. I know, but you already saw Gasper's expression, now that he knows about his friend Valeria wants to go more, I don't want her to suffer more than he already suffered, he said, thinking about the little boy. Vampire. Azazel. So what? Would you prohibit it? Riaz. Yes, I will leave him with Issei, he will take care of him while we take care of this, my duty as a mistress is to take care of his servants, and I don't want Gasper to get hurt. Azazel. Well, I'll go to the Carmilla faction to get some information about Issei, do you think he'll agree? Riaz. I'll try to convince him, but I'm sure he'll understand. Time skip next day. Issei. What, why can't I go hunting vampires? I'm ready, she said, showing that she had some wooden stakes kept in her raincoat. Riaz. Issei, I want you to take care of Gasper and the others, please. I know you want to go meet and hunt vampires like that Van Helsing guy, but this is important, and also. Kiba. But you is afraid that you will kill some vampire from the faction, since they are very arrogant and annoying, she said simply. You. Sorry brother. Kaneko. Don't worry, Issei-kun, he can vent to me if he wants, he said putting his head between his chest. Issei. I would like to, but I want to kill vampires, he said pouting. Yui. Don't worry, master, we will make it up to you, he said with a mischievous look and smile. Lin. Yes, he doesn't need to hunt vampires, he just needs to relax, he said hugging Issei. Akeno. Ara, but you would really leave it here? He said watching how the girls caressed Issei. Besides, I and the others will also be there, aren't you afraid that we'll do something? Yuri. Yes, like playing with your body or making love until we're tired while you're gone, she said looking at the redeed. Riaz. It's a risk I'll have to take though, she said looking at a certain dragon. Tiamat. Well, goodbye, have a happy holiday, he said happily as he gave the girls their suitcases. Riaz. There are still 2 hours until we leave, he said looking at the dragon. Tiamat. The faster the better for me, so I will have more time alone with Issei-sama, she said with a smile. Riaz. You are definitely the biggest of my worries. Sigh, when I come back I will be with you as long as possible. Yes. He said looking at Issei. Issei. Okay, he said kissing the redeed. Well, have a good trip I guess. Riaz just said goodbye and then left with Kiba, Yu and Azara, leaving the others in the house. Part 43 Evil Dragons. After Riaz said goodbye to Issei with Azara, they only disappeared in a magic circle with Kiba, Yu and Azazel to go fix the little vampire problems. And Issei can now be seen in his room playing video games with Office. Office. Tell me, aren't you worried about your friends? He said looking at Issei. Issei. They know how to take care of themselves, and they also have the power to defeat a god, so I don't worry too much, she said while continuing in her game. Office. I understand, well, she said while resting her head tenderly on Issei's arm. I'm glad there aren't so many people in the house, she said with a small blush. Issei. And that's why. She said innocently while continuing with her games. Office. Whispering this way I have more time alone with you, she said with a small smile. Issei. Sorry, I didn't hear you correctly. Do you ask me to repeat it? Office. So I can spend more time with you playing video games, she said happily and somewhat blushing. Issei. It's okay, she said with a smile as they both continued playing. After a couple of hours of playing games, Ambo went to sleep, but what made Issei a little uncomfortable is that all the girls were asleep with him. Issei. Girls, why are you all here? She said looking at the girls. Akeno. Ara, is Ice-kun uncomfortable with us sleeping with him? Issei. Isn't the bed is very full, she said looking at Hella hugging him while Valerie was on her chest sleeping next to Yui and Lin. Valerie. Well, my bed is very big and I didn't want to be alone she said, snuggling into Issei's chest, and you're also very warm and soft she said as she hugged him tighter. Office. I have no excuse, I just wanted to sleep with you she said hugging Issei. Issei. Sigh well, it's okay I think she said while she hugged the girls. Akeno. Today you are all our ice kun she said with a smile as she kissed Issei. Irina. Yes, you should also get used to it because when we become husbands, we will always sleep like this she said with a smile. Hella. That makes me remember, can angels have children? He said looking at Irina and Yuri. Yuri. Of course we can. Irina. Yes, but you must follow some rules or else I could fall she said, making everyone curious. Issei. How strange is one of those rules to gape your partner while he sleeps? He said looking at the girl who blushed because of what the boy said. Irina. Of course not you should only do the act with love and respect, leaving lust behind so as not to cause a fall, and, most importantly, be faithful to your partner, because if you are unfaithful to your partner your wings will automatically turn black. Issei. Yes, of course, not driven by lust, right? He said looking at both girls who blushed. Yuri. Well maybe just the last one said blushing. Tiamat. Letting yourself be carried away by lust is the best, right? Issei-sama he said while looking at Issei with a flirtatious smile. Issei. I think it's time to sleep he said while closing his eyes. Good night girls. All. Good night they said happily. Issei. Good night Gasper he said looking at the boy who was hanging upside down in the closet while he was sleeping. Gasper. Good night senpai he said with a smile while he closed the closet to sleep comfortably. Time skip next day. The boys went to class calmly, but something that caught the boys' curiosity was the fact that some students said that strange people in wizard costumes were hanging around the school. The boys, knowing that, only came out to see that some magicians were outside the school entrance next to Sona. Sona. Beyond here, wizards, this school is protected by factions and demons she said looking at him with his entourage to the magicians. Issei. Hello Sona said arriving with her other classmates are these the idiots who are causing problems? He said looking at a few wizards. Wizard1. He is he said looking at Issei a little nervous. Wizard2. It seems that way haha, don't let it intimidate you he said preparing several magical attacks with the others. Issei. They're in the way he said while launching a large flare of black fire towards the mages. The magicians could only create a barrier to protect themselves, but the weakest ones were completely incinerated by Issei's fire. Wizard1. Shit he said looking at how some of his companions were cremated. Wizard2. We better go our task is done he said to disappear in a magic circle. The mages disappeared in magic circles while Issei just laughed a little at them. Akeno. That was in Gasper, Kaneko and Ravel's living room. Issei. Shit he said to make his suit appear and run quickly to the source of the explosion. When the boys ran they only saw the students knocked out on the floor and when they reached the classroom they only saw several corpses of magicians. Some had their throats cut, others were incinerated, and others had holes in their bodies. Issei. Damn he said with fury they took them away. Sona. It seems that way, but I don't know that they gave up, it seems that they fought until the end he said looking at the corpses. Akeno. But what could they have wanted from them to make this disaster he said thinking. Issei. It doesn't matter, we have to find them he said as he cremated the bodies. Sona. Issei we must calm down and think why they took them he said looking at the boy. Issei. Every second we spend thinking they could be being tortured and he couldn't allow that you take charge of erasing the students' memories. I'll go get answers he said to disappear into the shadows of him. Time skip. After Issei left you can see the Gremory and Citri entourage in the occult club. After the student council they will wipe the students' memories and repair the damage. The boys were just serious thinking about a rescue plan, but the magician sent them a letter where they would meet to know the magician's demands so as not to harm the three. Sona. This is bad, maybe we should tell Issei-kun he said it would be. Akeno. I will send him a magic communication circle, but we must hurry. With Issei, you can see a large number of magicians in the supernatural subway station waiting for the arrival of the demons. They were in a kind of VIP room while they waited. At that moment the elevator turned on while it was going up to its floor. The calm magicians saw how the elevator opened, but at that moment their face went from calm to pure terror. The entire elevator was full of blood with many bodies, and from it came out a demon walking slowly. Demon. Please help he said before his head separates from his neck terrifying everyone. The magicians only saw how the body fell to the ground while a large geyser of blood came out of the demon's corpse and behind the body, a hooded man could be seen with a revolver in his left hand while in his right, he had a black sword bathed in blood. Issei. Hello bastards he said while giving a dead look at the wizards. Issei. The Shinigami has come for his disgusting souls. With the Gremory and Citri entourage, both entourages arrived at the demon's underground. The Gremory entourage was impressed since according to their king's words, no one could enter without authorization, and entering from the human world or the underworld would be very complicated and they would be detected quickly. Sona. Well, there is no time to waste, he said it would be as he began to walk through the place with the others. The boys walked with some caution since when they entered they could only find many corpses with their throats cut or broken in half. When they were halfway there they noticed that a grey-haired man was in the place waiting for them along with Benia. Sona. Guru, give me the details, he said looking at the boy. Zenobia. Acquaintance of yours? He said looking at the girl. Saji. He is a new member of Kaichu, his name is Luke Guru, but we call him Rujal-san. He doesn't talk much, all I know about him is that he is from the cool university section, he said, looking at the grey-haired. Sona. Benia, what happened here? He said it would be. Benia. He was the most beautiful thing ever seen, so much blood, so many screams, that dead and hexy look, she said blushing. Sona. What? Rujal just approached Sona and whispered in her ear what happened. Sona. What scream, surprising everyone. Sigh, it seems that Issei was ahead of us, he said calming down. The boys just continued walking until they reached a VIP room where there was a large pile of corpses, all mutilated and with their throats cut, while a hooded man known to everyone was holding a magician by the neck. Wizard. Please sniff, don't kill me, sniff, he said begging for mercy from Issei while he cried. Issei just threw him to the ground where he crawled until he reached Sona's feet. Wizard. Please sniff, protect me, I don't want to die, he said crying at Sona's feet. Benia. Hello Issei-kun, he said, hugging Issei while he was still stoic. The color you painted the walls is very nice, he said, looking at blood everywhere. Sona. Issei, why didn't you wait for us, he said with a pout. Issei. Sorry, I promised Ravel that I would protect her from these bastards, he said, stepping on the wizard's back making him scream. I'm just mad at myself. Rujal. It's nice to see you again Issei-san, he said greeting Issei. Issei. Rujal too, he said returning the greeting. The girls only looked at Issei's cold look that showed some anger, but for Sona and her queen, that cold and analytical look only made him look attractive. The Keno. Ara, it seems like you had fun Ice-kun, he said, looking at the many corpses around him. Sona. What did you discover? Issei. Apparently these are just puppets of the bastard of their leader. There is a magic circle over there that will take us to it, right Harry Potter, he said stepping on the magician's head. Wizard. Why yes, sniff, but please don't kill me, he said terrified. Issei just took out his revolver and pointed it at the wizard's head, scaring him even more. Issei. Long before I change my mind, he said looking at the magician. The magician did not wait and left the place in terror, while Issei just holstered his weapon again and headed to the magic circle with the others. The little boys were transported to a kind of castle, but this was like a 3D painting, since there were stairs on ceilings, walls, and it seemed that when looking down the thousands of stairs continued. The boys climbed some stairs until they entered a room where Ravel and Kaneko were. Both. Issei-kun, they said hugging Issei tightly. Issei. Girls, they are fine, they didn't do anything to them, right, she said looking at the girls who seemed intact. Kaneko. Issei sniffed. Gasper, he said pointing to a Gasper that he was chained while he had thousands of wounds and his face had many bruises. Ravel. Gasp-kun tried to defend us, but he said crying. Issei just took Gasper's chains off while he healed him with his white flames. Gasper. Senpai, he said looking at Issei. Issei. You did well Gasper, you can rest easy now, he said with a smile while he healed him. Gasper just smiled to fall asleep. Issei just clenched his fists in anger while a great aura of death came out of him. At that moment a hooded man appeared behind the boys while he laughed. Ahahaha, sorry Chico said getting everyone's attention, your friend was very strong, he killed more than a dozen of my henchmen, and well that made some angry, he said with a smile. Sona. You are the leader of all this, he said it would be. Ahaha, that's right, it's a pleasure to meet the sister of Mao Leviathan, he said bowing mockingly. Sona. What do you want? Ahahaha, that's something complicated, you see there are actually several reasons, we wanted to test them, and let's say we needed data to complete our investigation, he said snapping his fingers, causing some lights to illuminate the place. At that moment they saw that around them there were some kind of incubators where there were people inside. You know the only way to get phoenix tears is from a clan, but they are not very affordable, not to mention that they do not sell them to just anyone, hahaha, so we will make our own phoenixes, he said with a smile. The blonde phoenix only let out a few tears while he saw the incubators, but Issei only burned with rage at the man's words. Issei. Not only do they kidnap Kaneko and Ravel, but they also torture Gasper, and to top it off he said, looking at the man with a dead look, you try to create people to be used as simple puppets, he said with fury. The boy only began to draw black flames from all over his body, while he launched a slash of black flames. The flames were repelled by a powerful magical protection circle. Ahahaha, we have already heard about your powers, oh great Shinigami, I know that you have the power to destroy everything that gets in your way, and you also have the power to even create life where there is none, that is why we are prepared, he said with a smile. At that moment a large magic circle appeared behind the mysterious magician, while he was filled with green energy. Saji. A dragon bridge, he said looking at the magic circle. Sona. This is bad, he said he would be preparing for battle. I'm sorry Chico, but I will not be your opponent this time, now come out of the darkness Grendel. From the magic circle at that moment a large black dragon with black scales emerged, its mouth was full of blood, giving it a repulsive appearance. Ha 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 ha, the legendary dragon of the criminal force Grendel, he said with a psychopathic smile. Grendel. Mew ha 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 ha, it's been a while since I passed through the dragon gate, I hope my enemy is strong, he said with an evil smile. Issei. Haha, an obese and disgusting dragon, good for you, but I have a better one, Fafnir, he said invoking the dragon. Fafnir only appeared surprised to the wizard, while Grendel only smiled evilly. Fafnir. Hello Grendel, it seems that you are still the same disgusting ball of butter as always, he said looking at the dragon. Grendel. Shut up, you damn idiot, I'll kill you, said with anger. Issei. Fafnir, I will give you that reward that you have asked for so much if you kill that disgusting dragon, he said, looking at the dragon already somewhat disgusted as it began to drool. Fafnir. I hope you give me lots of cards too, he said with a smile. Issei. He threw. Issei unsheathed his sword to look at the wizard who only created a sword made of light to clash weapons with Issei, while Fafnir and Grendel fought in a fierce battle to the death with bites and claws. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.